Hi Paramjeet.
Hello.
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Afternoon, sir.
How are you? Hello. 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 स्मिता, इसमें आवाज बहुत कम आ रहा है। ब्लूटूथ स्पीकर कौन सा? स्टॉप वीडियो नहीं, कहाँ पे फिर इसका ऑडियो कहाँ गया? ऑडियो सिस्टम स्विच ऑडियो। कॉल मी एट यू आर यूजिंग कंप्यूटर फॉर ऑडियो, इसको डिस्कनेक्ट कर दें।
We can hear you very loud and clear.
You can hear me?
Loud and clear.
Yes, sir.
But I can't hear you at all.
Oh.
Check your system speaker volume, sir.
Just a moment, I'll connect some external speaker. How are you, Naveen ji? Namaskar.
Namaskar, sir. All fine, sir.
All doing well?
All well, sir. We have started again the office, so that is a good feeling.
Say something.
I said we have started coming to office, so it is a good feeling.
हाँ, naturally घर में बैठे बैठे आदमी it's a you get total bored in the house, you know.
नहीं सर, वो ऑफिस में when you say work from home, घर पे they take it as work for home. तो वो थोड़ा सा इशू हो जाता है सर.
I like that. India mein we are always working for home only, so it's not
Yes.
from, it's for. I like that.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Huh? Okay. Okay, come in.
मैं hosting right ले लिया मैं logo post बना सकता हूँ ठीक?
Shanti Bai Hanumanji was very prompt in giving us this time. We must, acknowledge this part. We met her in April, right? We met her in
Yes,
first
sir.
week of April or last week of March? I think we met her in the first week of April, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before the lockdown.
अरे ये तो बहुत ही अच्छा हो गया. This is excellent.
So this is how the participants will be seeing the panelist.
That's nice. You're developing. You're doing a good job.
So already, sir, you can see 100 plus people are there.
Mm-hmm.
The morning we had that 3P Egypt Expo, and the inaugural was attended by the Indian ambassador from Egypt.
Mm-hmm.
So President sir was also there. It went off well.
Mm-hmm.
The exhibition is on, so B2B meetings are going on that platform as well. That is separately being taken care.
Very nice. Very nice.
So that activity is also going on.
No, very nice. Our chamber is doing well. There's one new member who wants to come in, and
Sir.
he wanted to go to CII, but I pushed him here. It's a Canadian company.
Oh, very nice.
But they've got a Bombay office. So their man, Mr. Rambir, he was just on call with me. अभी उसी का phone आ रहा था.
Okay.
So I will connect with Neeraj, and you can send him all the papers tomorrow, day after. They're going to become member quick.
Sure, sir.
But they were debating between CII and PhD. I have pushed them for PhD.
No, I think we will take care of that part, sir. Once we have the details, Neeraj will immediately get in connect and we will close it.
ओए बल्ले बल्ले Yeah, Paramjit, I believe I have the sharing rights now, right?
Yes, Meg, now you are
Yeah,
the host.
got it. Thank you, thank you.
Mayank, you are the host now. You can treat.
You can treat us, yes.
Nachita, how do we get the download? यहाँ पे है सारे डाउनलोड इसमें है ना.
Meg, एक बार चेक कर लो वो स्लाइड्स चला के.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
जी, please as well.
Now the corona wave has come down in Delhi.
Yes, sir. In fact,
क्या लग
one
रहा है
of
third?
sir, in fact, just a positive sign is that one of my cousins, she used to work, she's working with Safdarjung Hospital. So two of their ICU special wards which were made for corona patients, so they have been closed. So that means ICU patients are not there at all. So that is a good sign. So I think if we take care, if we have to take proper precautions, unlock has happened, but we should not misuse it. We have to take proper precautions, then only we can control the third wave.
It all depends on the public at large.
Yeah, because
And I
yesterday what we saw people going towards Himachal, a kind of 3 hours or 4 hours traffic jam is there. So this is not a good sign at all.
अब क्या करोगे
हिमाचल
इंसान
है-
जब खुला है ना अभी एक बार तो सब लोग the way people are going forward yesterday in Delhi Mall, Pacific Mall का एक some video वो
Rajouri
came.
Garden. Yes.
The way people are going, it's sad, huh? But well, that's the way life is. हम लोग अपने आप को बचा के रखें.
बिल्कुल, we have to take
Everybody
our
to oneself.
own precautions. We have to take. The President sir will immediately after the minister speaks, President sir has to leave because he has another meeting. So
He may be
after that, I think then we will request you to take over on that.
ठीक है. I have just got allotment of a very old. We have partnered with a guy there in Africa, in Tanzania. In fact, it is on the border of Zimbabwe and Tanzania for rosewood.
Okay.
So we started. We got the license to export rosewood from Zambia into India.
Oh, that is really nice.
We'll be starting that very soon in the next 1 month or so. इवेंट पार्टनर क्या कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं?
Sir, that's the wrong slide. Just getting changed.
Okay. Other, what is the contribution for an event partner in other events?
Sir, they are the like title sponsors. Only one lead sponsors.
Sir informed Paramjit is replacing it.
Good afternoon, Ms. Ruma.
नमस्कार जी. सन्याल जी नमस्कार. उमा जी नमस्कार.
Good afternoon, Ruma ji.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Ma'am, you are muted actually.
Okay, now it's fine. All right. Good afternoon. Very
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And you? How are you?
Absolutely fine.
Okay, so I can see the others joining at the ministry as well. Okay.
Good afternoon, SG sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Naveen.
Good afternoon, sir.
Mayank.
Good afternoon, sir.
सौरभ जी क्या हाल है आपके?
अग्रवाल जी नमस्कार. बिल्कुल ठीक.
नमस्कार to you.
आप कैसे हैं विवेक जी?
So far so safe and so nice.
Good, good. Keep safe, stay safe, and continue to be safe.
Absolutely, that's the only mantra. We are left with no other option.
जी.
SG sir, Vivek ji was just telling that he has some rosewood he will be exporting from. Vivek ji, you can just give more details on that.
I will tell you 1 week later, we have just signed the deal. In fact, we've
Right.
just, yesterday only we've done some deal with Zambia.
Right.
So this guy, he's into farm, he's into forestry. So we made a JV with him for rosewood.
Excellent. Excellency is also there, I believe.
They are just
His
testing. Sir.
office?
His office
Yeah.
is there. They are testing it.
Yeah, they should be joining soon, I'm sure.
So we have
Mr.
Mr.
Nandlal.
Devraj now. Yeah.
Mr. Nandlal has been a very old hand in developing relationships with PhD. I mean, we've been working together last 4 or 5 years, I remember.
Absolutely.
He is
Hello.
now based in Mumbai.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Mr. Vivek. How are you?
I'm fine. Welcome, Mr. Nandlal. Welcome.
Thank you.
Namaskar.
Thank you. Nice to see you. Nice to see you.
Absolutely. It's
Mr. Nandlal,
wonderful.
good afternoon. Saurabh Sanyal this side. How are you,
Yeah.
sir?
I'm fine. Thank you. Thank you. Fine.
Good
Good
to see you
afternoon,
after
sir.
a long, long time.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Mr. Neeraj, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Good, sir.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, Nandlaji. This is Naveen Seth.
Good afternoon, Mr. Naveen. How are you?
Fine, fine, sir. Thank you very much.
Very good to see you. Thank you. Bonjour, Romain.
Ça va, tu vas bien?
Ça va bien, merci.
Yeah,
Excuse
good to
us,
see you.
just communicating.
Creole.
That's a simple greeting. Yeah, simple greeting. Bonjour.
Yeah.
Mr. Vivek, you can take it now.
Good afternoon,
I-
President. Good afternoon.
I remember,
Good afternoon, everyone.
Sanjay ji, namaskar. Namaskar ji.
Good afternoon, everyone. The minister will be here in 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, Excellency. Thank you very much for joining, ma'am.
Mr. Nandlal, I remember I met you in Mumbai just before the corona in 2020.
Yes.
January of 2020.
Yeah, I still remember that.
And everything went to tipsy-turvy thereafter. 1.5 years has gone by and life has changed, huh?
A lot. Yeah. So after that, have you been able to travel to Gabon?
Unfortunately, no. And luckily, thanks to my team, we are doing very well in Gabon.
That's
Gabon
very
is virtually corona-free.
Okay.
And virtually, I would say virtually because there hardly been any cases.
Yeah.
And the death has been only numbered, 1, 2, 3, 4, and in that range.
Right.
And the Gabon government has made sure that everybody is vaccinated with Chinese vaccine. And the
Okay.
entire population is already vaccinated.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah, yeah.
So for Gabon, it is work as usual. There's nothing called corona.
Yes.
They are surprised when they look at us that how come we are suffering so much.
Yeah. But India is such a huge population. That's
Yeah, there's I tell them it's uncomparable.
yeah.
You can't compare India to any part of Africa.
True.
India is a different ballgame.
Mhm. Yeah.
How has Mauritius been in the last 1.5 years? Of course, we'll hear that now, but briefly, tourism has suffered a lot.
Yes, tourism has been completely closed since March last year. I mean, end of March last year, and until now it is still closed. Yes. So, and we had the budget last week. So the national budget was last week. So it has been announced now that the reopening is starting as from 15th of July. that is as from next month. Yeah. But then there will be certain restrictions, and then as from 1st October, it will be without any restriction. Everybody who is vaccinated can come. Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
So all the large hotels, what about them? They've become just dead places, is it? Last 1.5 years?
I mean, at the moment, yeah.
Empty, yes. They were open a bit for Mauritians when there were less cases locally, but since March, totally closed. I mean, it's used for as quarantine centers, some of them.
Yeah.
It's used for quarantine.
Sad, huh? It's very, very sad. Very sad.
Yeah.
Mr. Nandalal, I would like to introduce you to our president, Sri Sanjay Agarwal ji, who had taken over as the. Good afternoon, sir. And Mr. Sivraj Nandalal ji is the Councillor, Investment and Trade, Economic Development Board of in Mauritius.
I think, Mauritius is the single largest FDI investor into India over the last 21 years. I am told. I think it's more than 25% of our FDI comes from Mauritius. So hats off to our mutual tax avoidance treaties.
Yeah,
But it's a great indication of the seriousness with which the mutual trade and investment opportunities are being worked at between our two nations. So I think that is definitely something it's a very strong relationship. So no doubt about that. I can
And Ms. Ruma Narayanan Pillai is the manager.
Also. So good afternoon to you, Vivek ji, also, and to.
Good afternoon, Sanjay ji. Namaskar.
Namaskar. And good afternoon to Ms. Pillai also.
Yes, good afternoon. I can't hear you too well, but I'm happy to be with you today.
It's our pleasure, absolutely, today, ma'am. Absolutely, our pleasure also.
Sanjay ji, one thing I just, we are talking about the tax avoidance treaty. The word avoidance sounds nowadays in today's ambit sounds so bad. I wish the government could rechange the word as to tax. Why avoid? It's a tax promotion, or maybe it's a stop of leak. It's a leakage stop. It's not, we don't avoid taxes. It's only a leakage stop. Because
actually,
if you pay 25-30%.
Yeah, but I took an incomplete name. It's called double taxation avoidance treaty. So
Absolutely correct. People look at it with suspicious views, but no, koi samajhte nahi hai. For a business to grow, we need to replow back profit. And profit, if you bring to India and pay tax and then take it back, it just makes no sense. And that's why you need places like Mauritius or Dubai.
It's been a very mutually beneficial arrangement for both our countries.
Absolutely.
We cannot trust the systems of every other country to be, in sync with the line or the policies that the government is following. So I think where there is mutual faith and trust, that is where one can have such strong treaties, which are to mutual benefit.
Correct. Correct.
Neeraj, just check with ambassador's office because we are just waiting for ambassador ma'am now.
Sure, sir.
How many participants till now?
I think 120 something. Mayank, can you show that screen?
178, sir.
Just share that screen once. 178 are there, sir.
170 only. So how come on my laptop is showing only 11? There's
And
something
these are
wrong.
no, we are the panelists, sir. As we are shown
Okay.
as the panelists, so this is going live on that platform.
All right.
People have joined there on the platform. Whatever questions they have, they will ask from the platform, and then we will bring it to you. So this is how
Got
the
it, got it.
people are looking at us.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Excellency. Thank you very much for joining, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Excellency.
All of you,
afternoon,
namaskar. It's my pleasure to meet you all. I'm really sorry that we can't meet personally, but we have to cope with the COVID situation. But in the meantime, I think we can do some groundwork virtually.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, sir. Thank you very much.
Pleasure and a privilege to have you join us, ma'am. Absolutely our privilege. Thank you.
The President, sir, the Honorable Minister Saab has also joined, sir.
Excellent. Welcome, Your Excellency, Mr. Alan Gado. We are very, very pleased and privileged to welcome you to this virtual interactive series on global trade and investment opportunities today. Really a pleasure for us, sir. Thank you for joining.
So, sir, with your permission, can we start now? Because people are there on that.
Absolutely.
Namaskar to everybody. I am sorry I was a little late. Our National Assembly is sitting today, so I just rushed from there. And after my intervention, I will have to go back to the National Assembly. So once again, namaskar to everybody. To our High Commissioner, Mrs. Anuwani.
Good afternoon.
So good afternoon. On behalf of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I welcome you all for this virtual interactive discussion which we are having today on global trade and investment opportunities for Indian industry in Mauritius. So just to give you a brief background, since the last lockdown started, we started our interactive series with the international community, getting in touch with the foreign missions and also with the Chamber of Commerce, and we did a lot of interactive sessions. And now we have just now started a series called Global Trade and Investment Opportunities, which we are doing with different countries. And we are really thankful to Excellency Ma'am for giving us this opportunity so that we can start with Mauritius. We remember, ma'am, we came over and met you in the embassy just before the lockdown. And it was a very nice. Yeah. So we're really thankful to you that maybe in 2 months we are able to do this first interactive session, and we would like to continue this in different sectors as well with you.
Very good.
Thank you very much. So we welcome Shri Alan Ganu, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, Republic of Mauritius. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time and being with us today. We really appreciate your gesture, sir. Thank you very much. We welcome Her Excellency Mrs. Santibai Hanumanji, the High Commissioner of Mauritius to India. Thank you and welcome, ma'am.
Thank you.
We also welcome Mr. Sivraj Nandlal, the Councillor, Investment and Trade, Economic Development Board, Mauritius. Thank you, Mr. Nandlal. Thank you for sparing your time. We also welcome Ms. Ruma Narayanan Pillai, the Manager, Trade Division, Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much for joining, ma'am. So we are also waiting for Dr. Narayan Dutt Buddhu, the Director, Trade Policy, Minister of Foreign Affairs from Mauritius. I think he will be joining soon with us. And on the panel, we also have Shri Sanjay Agarwal ji, who is the President of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much, sir, for sparing your time. We also have Shri Vivek Agarwala, who is the Chair of International Affairs Committee of Africa in PhD Chamber. Thank you very much, sir, for joining.
Thank you.
We also have with us Shri Saurabh Sanyal, who is the Secretary General of PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Thank you very much. And myself, Naveen Seth, I am the Assistant Secretary General, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. And with me, I have my colleague Neeraj and Mayank. So once again, thank you very much, all the panelists, distinguished panelists, and the attendees who have joined us from India and Mauritius. We can see the number. It is encouraging number that for this session we have 170 plus people who are there with us on this platform right now. So to start with, I would request Shri Sanjay Agarwal ji, the President, PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give his presidential address.
Thank you, Naveen. A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to each one of you for this very virtual, important session on the global trade and investment opportunities for Indian industry in Mauritius. My special welcome to Mr. Alan Ganu, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, Mauritius, for sparing his valuable time for joining us today. Excellency, it's a matter of great honor for us to have you with us today. Also, Her Excellency Shantibai Hanumanji, High Commissioner of Mauritius to India. Again, we are very grateful, ma'am, for your having spared your time to join us. I think it's a privilege for us, and we hope to keep interacting with you on a very regular basis and try to do more and more of interactions between India and Mauritius. India and Mauritius for improving the trade opportunities to the extent possible. I would also like to thank Mr. Nandlal and Ms. Pillai and many other dignitaries from India and Mauritius present here today. I would like to take this opportunity to briefly mention about the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have been working for the promotion of Indian trade and industry and entrepreneurship as a catalyst for the past 116 years. And we are a forward-looking, proactive, and dynamic pan-India apex organization. As a partner in progress with industry and government, the PhD CCI works at the grassroots level for propelling progress, harmony, and integrated development of the Indian economy. PhD CCI, as a facilitator of business and industry, has put significant efforts to expand India's investment and ecosystem to new heights and take proactive measures to foster and strengthen India's international linkages. Of course, the current pandemic has had a very deleterious effect on both our nations, and we are all aware that Mauritius must have been very hard hit especially because of the large tourism segment that is there in Mauritius. We also do have a large tourism segment, and even that our hospitality segment is also suffering very badly. In addition, of course, there has been a general difficulty in all economic processes, and the economies across the world have suffered very badly. And I think as nations with such very close ties, it behooves us to try and cooperate even more strongly. I think there is some unmuted guest who probably, due to which there is some disruption. Will you please have that checked up, Secretariat?
Kindly.
Yes, sir. Done the intro, sir.
So, I think in this scenario, I think what all we can do as two nations who have had among the friendliest of relationships and relationships based on mutual trust and respect for such a long time, our double taxation avoidance treaty being one prime example of the amount of faith and trust that the two countries have mutually built up over the years. So I think the opportunities for us to cooperate and do more and more are definitely there, and we have to try and maximize the potential of our engagement in every way possible. The outbound investment from India has undergone a considerable change, not only in terms of magnitude, but also in terms of geographical spread and sectoral composition. Analysis of the trends in direct investment over the last decade reveals that while investment flows, both inward and outward, were rather muted during the early part of the decade, they gained momentum during the latter half. The current global pandemic has banned travel worldwide, which has made it difficult to carry out business with Indian investors. Friends, diplomatic relations between India and Mauritius were established in the year 1948. Mauritius maintained contacts with India through successive Dutch, French, and British occupation. From 1820s, Indian workers started coming to Mauritius to work on the sugar plantations. From 1834, when slavery was abolished by the British Parliament, large number of Indian workers began to be brought to Mauritius as indentured laborers. 2nd November 1834 marks the day when the ship Atlas docked in Mauritius, carrying the first batch of Indian indentured laborers. The day is now observed in Mauritius as Apravasi Day. This makes our friendship with Mauritius both historical and natural. Friends, PSDCCI too has shared a very special bond with Mauritius through the active and continuous support of the High Commission of Mauritius in New Delhi. We also had the honor of hosting one of the finest leaders of Mauritius, the Right Honorable Sir Anirudh Jagannath, the former Prime Minister of Mauritius in 2015, who recently left us all, creating a void which we are all very sure will be very difficult to fulfill. Friends, as you are all aware, the opportunities of bilateral trade and economic cooperation are immense between both the countries and are set on a foundation of strong cultural and political relations. The recently signed CECPA between both the countries will be a milestone in our relations. I am sure our distinguished speaker for today's session will throw some light on how we can leverage the implementation of CECPA for the benefit of business communities of both the nations. Excuse me. Reflecting upon the aspect of commercial relations of both the countries, India is one of Mauritius's largest trading partners and largest exporter of goods and services to Mauritius since 2007 and is the exclusive supplier of petroleum products to Mauritius. Besides petroleum products, main items of India's exports to Mauritius are pharmaceuticals, cereals, cotton, electrical machinery, apparel, and clothing accessories. Main items of Mauritius's exports to India are iron and steel, pearls, precious, semi-precious stones, and optical, photographic, and precision instruments. Cumulative FDI equity inflows from Mauritius into India during the period April 2000 to March 2021, a period of 21 years, amounted to USD 148 billion, which is 28% of the total FDI flows over this period into India. I think this is something which shows the great strength of our mutual relationship. 8 Indian public sector enterprises are currently functioning in Mauritius. The Bank of Baroda, Life Insurance Corporation, New India Assurance Corporation. The 3 of these were the first to establish operations in Mauritius, followed by other PSUs, which includes Indian Handloom House, Telecommunication Consultants India Limited, Indian Oil Mauritius Limited, Mahanagar Telephone Nigam Limited, and State Bank of India Mauritius Limited. Is Mr. Sanjeev Kumar joining us, Naveen ji? He is?
Not yet joined, but hopefully he will be joining in the later part.
Okay. The CMD of Telecommunication Consultants India Limited would hopefully also be joining us shortly. So over the past 40 years, India has extended several lines of credit to Mauritius, to which I believe has played a very important role in assisting Mauritius in the development of its infrastructure, human resources, skill development, capacity building, and project appraisal, etc. Before I conclude, I would like to mention once again thank the Honorable Minister for his kind and gracious presence, along with the dignitaries from Mauritius, as also Your Excellency Halmanji, Madam Halmanji, the High Commissioner of Mauritius to India. Thank you so much, and I really hope that we will have a very, very stimulating session today, and that we shall continue to have more and more such exchanges and interactions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President Sir, for sharing your views and setting the agenda for today. Yes, Mr. Sanjeev Kumar from TCIL will be joining in another 15-20 minutes. And we also have in the audience, sir, Ministry of External Affairs officials, Mr. Amit Narang, the Joint Secretary, and Mr. Vikram Vardhan, the Deputy Secretary from the Indian Ocean Region of Ministry of External Affairs. So we thank them for joining the session today. So now to take this further, I would like to invite Shri Alan Ganu, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, Mauritius, to give his opening statement, please.
Thank you. Mr. Seth, Mrs. Anumanji, Mauritius High Commissioner to New Delhi, Mr. Agarwala, Chairman of International Affairs Committee for Africa, Mr. Seth, Assistant Secretary General of PSG Chamber of Commerce and Industry, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I am delighted to participate in this important virtual conference on promoting trade and investment between Mauritius and India. The continued interaction between the business communities of our countries is crucial in unlocking the huge business opportunities, especially in the context of the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement. I would also like to thank the PSG Chamber of Commerce and Industry for organizing this event. The number of participants today shows the genuine interest of stakeholders to explore business opportunities in a win-win scenario between India and Mauritius and to further improve our bilateral relations. Mauritius and India share a special relationship that is anchored in kinship, deep historical and cultural affinities, as well as common values and interests. These relations were reinforced during the official visit to Mauritius in March 2015 of Sri Narendra Modi, Prime Minister of India, and the visit of the Prime Minister of Mauritius to India in 2017. India has always been supportive of the development of Mauritius. The number of development projects undertaken by India and Mauritius bear the legacy of our special relations. Ladies and gentlemen, our trade and investment relations have intensified over the years. Total foreign direct investment from India to Mauritius for the last 5 years stood at more than 15 million USD. There were more than 7,800 Indian workers in Mauritius, including about 1,000 professionals in 2020. There are around 64 Indian companies currently in Mauritius in several sectors, including in healthcare, education, ICT, Freeport, and financial services. India was the second most important partner to supply the Mauritian market in 2020, around 670 million USD. Exports to India, on the other hand, was to the tune of 14 million USD. These figures give an indication of the dynamism of our business relations, but they still remain below existing potentials. They can be substantially increased if the opportunities of the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement, which entered into force on the 1st of April, are fully utilized. Indeed, the SECPA offers win-win opportunities for both Indian exporters and importers. It improves India's access to the Mauritian market by eliminating or reducing tariffs on goods and removing regulatory bottlenecks in the service sector. The agreement provides preferential access to some 300 products of interest to India, including tea, spices such as chilies, ginger, turmeric, cinnamon, beer, rum, and spirits, specialty sugar, Ayurvedic products, articles of plastics, iron and steel products, motor vehicle parts, furniture, among others. It also benefits Indian importers in view of the possibility to source at preferential rates some 600 products from Mauritius, ranging from special sugar, tuna, high-quality rum, beer, fruit, wine and garments, tropical fruits, pasta, medical devices, amongst others. For instance, Indian operators can import GMO-free high-value added special sugars produced in Mauritius, which is exported worldwide and known for its high quality. Similarly, branded garments, which are sold in luxury stores in Europe and the US, can be sourced free of duty. Mauritius is a renowned producer of high-quality rum and has recently obtained the first prize for its rum in the world. 1.5 million liters of rum can be imported under the SECPA. But the SECPA does not cover only trade in goods. It also provides an appropriate platform to expand bilateral trade in services between Mauritius and India. Mauritius has taken commitments to open up to 120 services subsectors, while India has committed some 94 subsectors. Some of the key sectors are professional services, architectural services, engineering, education, audiovisual services, transport, logistics services. For instance, Indian institutions can open campuses in Mauritius and explore the vast African market in educational services. In the health sector, the SECPA allows the setting up of private hospitals, including the practice of the Indian system of medicine and complementary and alternate medicine, Ayush. It further provides a framework for professional bodies to conclude agreements on the recognition of qualifications, licenses, and registration in areas of mutual interest. It also provides for modalities to be agreed to facilitate movement of skilled labor and qualified professionals, in particular in scarcity areas. But the SECPA has also a regional dimension. There is a growing interest among Indian businesses to access opportunities on the African continent. This can be done using Mauritius as a gateway. As the first trade agreement signed by India with an African country, it opens up the possibility for Mauritian and Indian businesses to team up together to access the vast African market. Indian manufacturers can move part of their manufacturing processes to Mauritius and produce for the African market. The same principle also applies to the services sector. We already have duty-free access on a market of 600 million consumers by virtue of our membership in COMESA and in SADC. The African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which came into force on the 1st January of this year, opens up trade and investment opportunities on a much larger market of 1.3 billion consumers. This is in addition to duty-free access on the European Union, Chinese, and US markets. Any investor located in Mauritius will be able to access these markets on preferential terms. Ladies and gentlemen, in fact, Mauritius is one of the best places to invest in Africa. We are also constantly improving the business environment to facilitate the incorporation and establishment of foreign companies in Mauritius. We are ranked 13th out of 190 countries in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business ranking in 2020. We are the first in Africa. We are implementing reforms and streamlining procedures to make of Mauritius an even more business-friendly country. A national electronic licensing system has been introduced, which allows application of business permits to be done electronically. We are implementing an e-registry system where a national register of immovable properties and statistics on land dispute resolutions are now publicly available. A mechanism for filing of complaints is also being implemented. We have also improved access to foreign professionals and businessmen willing to live, work, or invest in Mauritius. We are also developing special economic zones in selected countries in Africa, namely Ghana, Senegal, and Madagascar. Interested investors can invest in these zones on their own or in joint partnership with Mauritian investors in a range of activities, including from production of goods to production of services. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for me to conclude, and I will do so by reiterating that India is one of our most important partners. The SECPA, as a first ever agreement in Africa concluded by India, is an outcome of this very special bond. I encourage you all to make the most of today's interactive session and to develop business partnership. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much for your extremely encouraging words, sir. I think our relationship has only one direction to go, and that is towards strength and towards newer heights. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much, Minister Sir, for your kind words. And as you rightly pointed out, there are many opportunities between the two countries, which we need to work together and take it further. As business-friendly nation you are, definitely we would like to work very closely with you and also with Ambassador Ma'am so that we can take this further. So now I would like to invite Excellency Mrs. Santi Bai Hanumanji, the High Commissioner of Mauritius in India, to give us the Mauritian India industry perspective.
Thank you so much, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Honorable Alan Kanu, the President of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mr. Agarwal, Mr. Narang, Joint Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs, India, the Assistant Secretary General of PhD Chambers, Mr. Seth, distinguished members of Chamber, the representative of Commerce and Industry, the Director Trade Policy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mauritius, the representative of the Economic Department, Mauritius, all distinguished guests present, good afternoon and namaskar to all of you. I wish first of all to thank the Honorable Minister for having left the Chamber of the National Assembly and Chamber of the National Assembly to meet us and deliver a speech on this auspicious occasion. I am pleased to welcome all of you at this virtual session on trade and investment opportunities for the Indian industry in Mauritius. At the outset, I wish to convey my sincere gratitude to the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry for collaborating with the Mauritius High Commission in organizing this session. Ladies and gentlemen, as you are all aware, and Mr. Agarwal, as well as the Minister just mentioned, Mauritius and India enjoy deep bilateral relations sustained by cultural affinities, frequent high-level political interactions, development cooperation, and above all, mutual respect. A further boost to this special relationship has come through the sign of the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement, the SECPA, last February during the visit of Dr. the Honorable Sri Jaishankar, Minister of External Affairs of India, to Mauritius. It is the first of its kind between an African country and India. It marks an important landmark in the trade and economic relationship between our two countries and opens new avenues for trade and investment opportunities for the business community of both countries. SECPA provides an institutional mechanism to encourage and improve trade between our two countries. It has come at a time when the global economy is gravely impacted by the COVID-19 recession, the worst global economic recession that one has ever experienced since the Great Depression. The recession has seen unusually high and rapid increase in unemployment. Business confidence has plummeted. Income level of households have significantly dropped, and the supply chains have been disrupted. As we are grappling to cope with this unprecedented economic downturn, trade becomes an important part of any recovery effort. SECPA has the potential to provide a timely boost for that economic revival in a post-COVID context, both for India and Mauritius. Soon after the agreement was signed, as has just been mentioned, I took the initiative to meet different trade chambers of India to discuss the way forward and to sensitize the business community about the benefits of the agreement. The responses, I must say, were very encouraging, and they were all enthusiastic about getting the technical details of the agreement. I also had a meeting with the representatives of the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, who was also accompanied by Mr. Saurabh Sanyal, then Secretary General of the PhD Chambers. We had fruitful discussions on the opportunities that may arise to Indian businesses under SECPA. Some specific queries were raised with respect to transshipment time in Mauritius, certification of Ayush products, and whether any duty concession was given to yarn exported from India to Mauritius. Those who were there would recall that these issues were raised by the PhD chamber. After consultations with the relevant authorities in Mauritius, I would like to bring the following clarifications to the above queries, which have already been conveyed to PhD chambers, but which I propose to go over again for the benefit of other members who are present today. With regard to the query related to transshipment time, I wish to bring a clarification to information previously conveyed to the PSD chambered by the High Commission. I wish to inform that consignments can be transshipped out immediately to another vessel, provided that all document formalities have been completed beforehand. In addition, I also wish to inform that sailing time from India to Mauritius and vice versa is on an average between 12 to 20 days. There is currently free shipping lines servicing Mauritius, namely MAURITIUS Limited, Mediterranean Shipping Company, MSC, and CMA CGM, Compagnie Maritime d'Affrètement, Compagnie Générale Maritime. As from 2021, the Mediterranean Shipping Company, the MSC, has launched a new India-Africa service connecting Northwest and South India to West Africa with a call through Mauritius without transiting through any other parts, thus reducing sailing time to 5 to 7 days only. It may also be noted that due to COVID-19 pandemic, there has been some exceptional delays, which I should mention, and which was raised by the members present in my office when I met the PhD members. There had been in December last some exceptional delays in these operations, but I can say that these conditions have now improved and there are now no major delays. As regards the certification of Ayush products, an ad hoc committee has been established at the Ministry of Health and Wellness in Mauritius to examine the Ayurvedic components of the respective products and to ensure that the products sold on the local market are supplemented with the relevant certificates from India. With respect to certification of Ayush products from Mauritius to Africa, you may wish to note that African countries have different regulations on pharmaceutical products and traditional medicines. So far, there are no mechanisms in Africa allowing a product certified in one African country to be exported to another country without meeting the regulations of the importing country. And lastly, the last point which I wish to bring up again is with regard to yarn. The import of yarn from India to Mauritius is duty-free. Consequently, Indian yarn exported to Mauritius will not be subject to any tariff. Ladies and gentlemen, for the benefit of members, I would now share some preliminary information about the SECPA agreement, which has three main components, as you know, the trade in goods, trade in services, and the economic cooperation chapter. But the economic cooperation chapter, which is a crucial pillar of the SECPA, will be incorporated in the agreement within 2 years from the date of implementation of the agreement, following negotiations between the two countries. But with regard to trade in goods, Indian businesses will have preferential market access to some 300 products, as already mentioned by the minister. On the other hand, Indian importers will have the possibility to source some 600 products at preferential rates. As regards trade in services, Indian service provider will have access to around 120 subsectors the minister has just mentioned, such as professional services, computer-related services, research and development, telecommunication, construction, distribution, education, environmental, financial, tourism and travel related, recreational, and yoga, amongst others. This also provides opportunities, for instance, to Indian institutions to set up businesses in the education and health sectors in Mauritius and explore the vast African market. Ladies and gentlemen, the SECPA also opens avenues for regional trade in the African region. Mauritius can thus act as a platform for Indian businesses to set up their production units and export their products to the Indian African continent. Mauritius has, as has been mentioned by the Honourable Minister just now, preferential trade agreements with the SADC and COMESA regions in Africa, which give duty-free access to a market of nearly 450 million consumers. Moreover, Mauritius has now preferential access to entire Africa by the coming into force of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement as from 1st of January this year, which opens up trade and investment opportunities on a much wider scale to a market of 1.3 billion consumers. So ladies and gentlemen, why should you choose Mauritius? It's because Mauritius offers a conducive business environment to investors to set up their business in Mauritius. We have an attractive taxation policy with a harmonized tax rate of 15% for corporate tax. There is no capital gain tax, no exchange control and dividends. They are all tax exempt. Import of machinery, equipment, and raw materials are exempt of customs duties, and foreign investors can retain 100% shareholding or partner with Mauritians. Companies investing in the manufacturing of pharmaceutical products, devices, high-tech product, and food processing benefit from an 8-year tax holiday. The government of Mauritius has recently embarked on an ambitious project to develop a pharmaceutical and life science park and is inviting expressions of interest potential investors. The project is aimed at encouraging investment in research and development and manufacturing of medicines in Mauritius, with the objective to making Mauritius a regional hub in the medical field. Government is providing a series of incentives to investors in that regard. I should also mention that Mauritius is a multilingual country. I cannot say it's bilingual, I would say it's multilingual, because besides English and French, in Mauritius, people speak Hindi, people speak Tamil, people speak Urdu, people speak Telugu. So I don't think there would be any language barrier for Indian businesses. Moreover, since we are French speaking and we can be of enormous support to Indian businesses exporting to African Francophone countries. So I would say that Mauritius is a home for Indian people. It's a home away from home. So you are all welcome to come to Mauritius. If you wish to come with your families, you are most welcome, and I'm sure that your family will not feel that they are out of India. I would urge all of you to take this opportunity, and we can proceed further with discussions as you may wish. Recently, the Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry in Mauritius had made a very valuable suggestion. They have said that it would be good if we could set up a joint public-private sector platform. And I feel that we can go ahead with this, because I just heard Dr. Agarwal saying that we look forward to further interactions. So I think that if we set up such a platform, we would be able together to overcome any obstacles which can come on the way. We can overcome any hurdles which can come in the way. And I would be there as the High Commissioner to facilitate your task. So I am looking forward to meeting you soon on any other platform that you wish. And I would wish just to see action for the next few months. Thank you very much for your attention, and namaskar.
Thank you very much, Excellency, for such a passionate talk which you have given. So I think, as you rightly mentioned about the joint sector platform with the Mauritian Chamber, definitely as PhD Chamber, we would like to take that further. And I think Vivek ji would be giving more his thoughts on that part when he talks about this. But just to give you a background, recently, with the Mongolian India Business Council, under the patronage of the Indian Embassy in Mongolia, we have started this kind of interaction there as well. We have exchanged an MOU there. So here also, under your patronage, we would like to start this and work together with the Mauritian Chamber so that a lot of interactions can happen and both the industries can be benefited. As you very rightly mentioned, home away from home. So we have that feeling. So personally, because I have also traveled to Mauritius 4 or 5 times, so that feeling we get. So thank you very much for that, and we look forward to work very closely with you under your guidance and also under the guidance of Honorable Minister, so that we can take this further. And as you have pointed out so many points, I think as you rightly mentioned, when we came over to you, we had specific queries and which were immediately taken up by you and your office, and we really appreciate that promptness. And we would definitely take that further with you, ma'am. Thank you very much once again. And I'm sure the participants here today will definitely have whatever queries they have, they will definitely come write to us and we will take it up with you on that. So thank you once again. And now I would like to invite Shri Vivek Agarwala, who is the chair of the International Affairs Committee for Africa in PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give the Indian industry perspective. Vivek ji, over to you. Sir, you need to unmute, sir.
I am unmuted.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Yes, sir. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Honorable Minister Shri Alan Ganu, His Excellency Madam Shanti Bai Hanumanji, all the dignitaries on the dais, ladies and gentlemen, a very warm welcome to each of you for this virtual session on global trade and investment opportunities for Indian industry in Mauritius. A very passionate talk has been given by the High Commissioner, Madam Hanumanji, and we appreciate and thank you very much, Madam, for this. We met you in April first week, I remember, and you have been so proactive in leading from the front in taking this first of the series of our global trade and investment series from PhD. Let me tell you, Madam, PhD works very closely with Africa. We have a dedicated cell for Africa, which is doing very well. And we have made many promotions in the past, Africa, land of opportunities. And with your support and the proactiveness which we see from your office, we would hope that we maintain the tempo in the future. A lot has been said about all the speakers before me, and I did not repeat, but I can surely say the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Cooperation Agreement is a right step and a very timely step taken. This, in fact, is the first trade agreement that India has signed with any African country, and it clearly reflects as to how important Mauritius is for India. We are excited about the tremendous opportunity that the SECPA opens up for boosting two-way trade in goods and services, as well as investments. And we urgently need this. And we would be happy that in this series, we'll get to know in detail, in depth, as to how we could benefit, how we can work around this agreement, and how we could actually implement it from the front. We are sure that signing of the SECPA would definitely contribute to increasing the economic activity in Mauritius and making it a hub for Africa, which is now most needed after the pandemic we have seen. We have the honor today of having Dr. Narendranath Budhu, Director Trade Policy, Minister of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, Mauritius, today with us to deliver his presentation on the SECPA Partnership Agreement, which I'm sure will answer all the questions that would be sitting in the minds of all of us here today. And we look forward to going in the detail of this agreement. Before I conclude, I would once again like to thank the Honorable Minister for his gracious presence, his time, despite the Parliament being on, and all the dignitaries from Mauritius to take their time off for this first series of Global Trade and Investment Program promoted by PhD CCI. Thank you very much, and I look forward for the sessions ahead. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Vivek for such a short and brief point which you have mentioned. As you rightly said, we would like to hear more from our esteemed guest today, so that we can take this interaction further. So now I would like to invite Dr. Narendra Dutt Buddhu, the Director, Trade Policy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Regional Integration and International Trade, Mauritius, to give his presentation on the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement. So, Dr. Narendra Dutt, over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and it's a pleasure for me to be here today. First of all, I would like to thank our High Commissioner in New Delhi for this very important initiative. I think that he has been extremely proactive to basically ventilate SECPA. And I would also like to also thank the PhD chamber. And I can see here it says progress, harmony, development. So basically, we are talking about progress, we are talking about harmony, and we are talking about development. That, for me, PhD, it gives you, the impression that we are talking about education and academia, things like this. So it sets the right tone that we have got what we call very serious people who want to do business. So I would really like to extend our thanks to the chamber for this initiative as well. And of course, I'm going to make a presentation on the SECPA. By now, you must have already a sense of what the agreement contains, because both the Minister and our High Commissioner, they have already given some details of what is provided for in the agreement. But I would just request the one who is managing, this session, whether we could share the screen, because I have the presentation so that they can see. Okay, that's fine. So here we are on the screen, so you can see now the presentation. So I'll go directly into that. Right. In the presentation of the Minister and also in the presentation of the High Commissioner, we have already mentioned about the existing trade between Mauritius and India. And if you look at the current trade, our imports from India stands to the tune of 670 million US dollars. And India, of course, is the second largest supplier of Mauritius. And our exports to India stand at about $14 million. Now, why I'm bringing these figures, it's for a very simple reason, to emphasize that already we are trading among ourselves. So there has been a lot of trade between Mauritius and India. And this is without an agreement. And this point is extremely important for us to bear in mind, that without an agreement, we are already trading among ourselves. And trade has been increasing, in fact, if you look at the trend over the years. And now with the SECPA, whose intention is basically to eliminate duties on a number of products, to reduce duties on maybe other products. So basically, we are talking about the dismantling of barriers to trade. So with the dismantling of barriers to trade, it is quite obvious that the volume of trade, two-way trade between the two countries, obviously is going to increase. And I think that this is one of the key intentions of the SECPA. And I think that with this signature and implementation as from the 1st of April of this year, so we have been able to achieve this target. Now, I'm also projecting some of the main items that we trade between the two countries. From India, for instance, we import quite a lot of oil, semi-mill and wholly mill rice, medicaments, cotton. In fact, cotton for our textiles industry. In fact, we have got a very important textile sector in Mauritius, and we import almost the entirety of our requirement in cotton from India. And we also export quite a number of products, vanilla, medical devices, textiles project, articles of jewelry. So I mean, there is quite a mix of trade items between the two countries. But as I said, nonetheless, these exports, especially from Mauritius, remain focused on a number of products, although imports from India might be more diversified. But if you look at the imports coming into Mauritius from outside, from other countries, so you'll find basically that there is a lot of potential and tap for India. And with the SECPA, obviously, you're talking about unlocking this potential. When we talk about our bilateral relations, we also talk a lot about investment between the two countries. And India has always been one of the key investment partners of Mauritius. And I think that at the beginning of the session, it has been mentioned that the stock of investment, outward in stock from Mauritius to India, it is quite substantial, up to the tune of 148 billion US dollars. It's a lot. And investment from India into Mauritius in 2019, it was to the tune of, if you take the whole stock, it was 25 billion US dollars. So quite a lot of investment from India into Mauritius and from Mauritius into India. And the other thing that we need to note also is that, the portfolio of investment is very diversified. We have the presence, for instance, of Indian investors in the financial services sector in Mauritius. We have the Bank of Baroda. We have got the Life Insurance Corporation of India. In the healthcare sector, we have got Dr. Agarwal's Eye Hospital. In the knowledge sector, we have got the Amity Institute of Higher Education. In the manufacturing sector, we have got Ajanta Pharma Limited. There are other companies as well. In the ICT BPO, we have got Mahanagar Telephone and Infosys Technologies. In the energy sector, we have got Indian Oil. So what basically I'm trying to say that there is already quite a lot of investors from India and Mauritius. And I think that now with the SECPA, there is the potential for us to increase the volume of investment flows as well, and to invest in other sectors of the economy in Mauritius. In fact, we have got a very comprehensive sort of economic agenda to diversify the investment portfolio in Mauritius. And so there are a lot of opportunities that SECPA could provide and that we could capture. Now, coming to the specifics of the agreement, I wish to indicate that, in fact, we started the negotiations way back in 2004, and it has been a very long journey. And at some point in time, in fact, we had to basically stall the negotiations. That was somewhere in 2007. And it was because there was an issue with the DTA and the interaction between the SECPA and the DTA. But these issues have now been resolved because we have already renegotiated the DTA. So we restarted the negotiations in 2016 on the basis of the joint report. And we agreed that basically we are going to aim to achieve a very ambitious and comprehensive agreement. And this is what we have been able to do to quite a considerable extent. Now, the SECPA contains four, I would say, different chapters. First chapter, very important, is the trade in goods chapter. And under the trade in goods chapter, we have got a preferential trade agreement. Then you have got a number of annexes, very important annexes on rules of origin, on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, on technical barriers to trade, on trade facilitation, on customs cooperation. So all of this constitute what we call the trade in goods chapter. I'll just give some detail on the content of this chapter and on these annexes. Then, of course, we have the second important component, which is trade in services. And then we have got one chapter which will be incorporated a bit at a later stage, which is the general economic cooperation. And more importantly as well, in any agreement, if you don't have a mechanism to settle disputes, then there is an issue. But in the SECPA, we do have also a very elaborate chapter on dispute resolution. So if tomorrow, if there is any dispute between the two sides, so we know that we have got a framework, a mechanism by way of which we can resolve any dispute that might arise between India and Mauritius. Now, coming to the trade in goods chapter, it has been mentioned that Mauritius has got an access on the Indian market for 615 products. We call that 615 tariff lines. And the modalities that we have agreed in terms of basically how we are going to remove the bottlenecks or the barriers to trade in the goods sector. So we have agreed to liberalize immediately some 38 products. So as from the day one, that is as from 1st of April of this year, so tariffs on these products have been eliminated. Then for a number of products, 73 products, there will be a tariff elimination period of 3 years. So that is, the tariff will be eliminated over a period of 3 years. For 42 products, tariffs will be eliminated over a period of 5 years. For 19 products, a period of 17 years. And for 193 tariff lines, so tariff will be eliminated over a period of 10 years. So you can see on the board, I mean, the details on how the tariff elimination will be done. Now, in addition to that, we do have a number of products on which we have got what we call tariff rate quota. So basically, it means to say you have a certain quantity of products which you can export either at zero duty or at reduced tariffs. So we have got a number of products, and there are some 10 products with a margin of preference of 50%. So basically, I mean, tariffs will slash by 50%, and the reduction will be done over a period of 5 years. For 5% tariff reduction, we have got, I think, 41 products. So you can find the detail on the board right now. Now, there are some very important products, maybe for us, the most important products which we produce in Mauritius. We could say that these are our main production and exports. And for all these products, we have been able to secure very interesting market access on the Indian market. First and foremost, we have been able to secure a quota of 40,000 tons of special sugar. I just want to tell you that with special sugar, they are very high value added, very high quality sugar that are consumed in specialized restaurant or coffee shops. And so we have got a quantum of 40,000 tons, and it will be taxed at 10% duty, as compared, to a duty, I think, of 70% on sugar in India. So basically, it's very low rate of duty, and the duty will be phased out over a period of 3 years. We have also got market access for 7.5 million pieces of garments. And we produce very high quality garments in Mauritius. And normally these garments are exported to brand shops, luxury stores in Europe and in the US. And so it can be sourced from Mauritius for 5.5 million pieces. And that duty free, there won't be any duty on the sourcing of garments from Mauritius. We have also obtained duty-free access for 7,000 tons of canned tuna. So we do produce quite a lot of canned tuna, and these tuna, they are exported primarily to the EU and to the UK. And so there is a possibility to source canned tuna from Mauritius, so 7,000 tons. We have also obtained a tariff rate quota for pineapples at 10% duty. 1,000 tons, and we know in India also you produce lychees. Sorry, we are talking about lychees. Pineapples, right? You do produce, but in Mauritius you can get it throughout the year, and it's a very special variety of pineapples. It's called Victoria pineapple, extremely sweet, and normally we export the pineapples to Europe. And there is a tariff rate quota also for 250 tons of lychees at 10% duty. Now, the season in Mauritius for lychees is at the end of the year, in November, December. And that is winter in India, and during winter period, you don't get lychees in India, so you can import from Mauritius. It's a seasonal fruit. And so we have also obtained duty-free access for medical devices. So the tariff will be eliminated over a period of 3 to 7 years. And Mauritius is one of the key producers of catheters, for what I call it's a medical device that is used in the operation. And we export these products. We have already get FDA, for instance, accreditation to export on the US market. We export to the EU. And basically, we export to several countries, so and to India as well. But we were paying taxes, so it was, these products were taxed, and now with the SECPA, so the tax have been eliminated for these products, so it can be imported from Mauritius. We have also obtained a tariff rate quota to export 1.5 million liters of rum, and I think that the minister, he indicated that recently we did obtain the first prize in the world for rum. So we are talking of very high quality rum. So it's 1.5 million liters that can be sourced from Mauritius. We have also obtained a TRQ to supply beer, 2 million liters, and 5 million liters of fruit wine as well. And we have got very specific fruit wine in Mauritius made from lychees. You know, you don't find it anywhere. So you can buy it from Mauritius. So these are some of the key products that can be sourced from Mauritius. And in terms of the offer that we have provided to India, so basically India can export some 310 products to Mauritius. And out of the 310, immediately we are providing access for 116 products. So it's immediate access, duty-free. So we have got products such as spices, tablecloths, tobacco, etc., etc. And for 88 products, the tariff will be eliminated over a period of 5 years. There will also be a gradual reduction of duty on one product that will happen over a period of 10 years. And then also we do have a number of tariff rate quotas where the duty reduction will range from 30 to 15%. So you can see the detail on the screen. So basically, I think that while you can also source products at a preferential rate from Mauritius, so we export at preferential rate, and you can also source at preferential rate. So basically, it's a win-win for both countries. Now, we also know that when we talk about trading goods, there is something which is extremely important in any agreement. And here we are talking about what we call the rules of origin. And these are the rules that basically determine whether the products would be eligible for preferential access or not. And in many trade agreements, you know, these rules tend to be extremely stringent, you know, so they're very difficult to meet. But in the SECPA, the rules which have been agreed, they're quite flexible. So it's very easy to meet these rules of origin. And there are basically 3 different requirements. One is a wholly obtained criteria. So basically, this is applicable to agricultural products where you need to have, that is, you have to grow the product and then it will qualify. So most of the agricultural products, they will have to meet the wholly obtained criteria. And the second rule is a de minimis rule. So basically implying that there is a certain percentage of material which you can import from other countries, incorporate in your product, and then export, and you will be eligible. And there is what we call a de minimis margin of 12.5%. So basically you can import goods up to that value to be incorporated in products to be exported under the SECPA. So this is also provided for. And more, there is also what we call product specific rules. So for each rule, especially for industrial goods, so you have got a rule for each of the product. And if you look at the rules or the requirement, basically we need to meet a 35% value addition. What it basically means that if India wants to export to Mauritius, they don't have to the goods can be produced from materials imported from outside. In India, you do the processing and you export to Mauritius. What is important for you is to meet a 35% value addition requirement. So you have to put local content of about 35%. And it's the same thing for Mauritius. We can put 35% value and then we export. The other thing is that for the purpose of rules of origin, India and Mauritius, they are considered to be one territory. So there is cumulation. So, you know, you can do some processing in Mauritius, you complete the processing in India, or vice versa, and the product will be considered as originating. Now, rules of origin are very important when I'll mention about Africa. That's where you will find the significance of rules of origin and how you can develop basically value chains between India and Mauritius, and then you export these products on the African market or to Europe or to to the US and the AGOA and still qualify for preferential access. That is the reason why, rules of origin, if you have got flexible rules of origin, it gives you the opportunity to do all of that. So this is, in fact, the case with the sector. And I have tried to just portray some of the various products and the rules of origin requirement for these products. You can see it on the screen right. So this is insofar as the trade in goods are concerned. I must hasten to add as well, because we do have a protocol on sanitary and phytosanitary measures, a protocol on technical barriers to trade. So these are also some requirements. And what the agreement provides is that we can collaborate between the two countries and have to make sure that we meet the SPS requirements. And for this, the competent authorities of Mauritius and India, they will have to maybe conclude a memorandum of understanding on specific products. But given the fact that normally both India and Mauritius, we use what we call the internationally agreed rules. So we go by international norms and standards. So basically, these rules would not constitute an issue, a barrier to trade, because we are already meeting these rules of origin requirement. Now, turning to trade in services, it has been mentioned that there is a very elaborate chapter on trade in services, extremely elaborate chapter. And basically, we cover about 120 different sectors and subsectors in the services sector. And what this agreement does, it basically binds both countries to remove regulatory impediments if there are regulatory bottlenecks. And this is what basically the chapter on trade in services does. And there are certain basic principles and requirements that we have agreed to. First and foremost, we have got what we call the most favored nation treatment. So basically meaning to say that we are going to provide the best treatment to each other, the best treatment that we provide to any other country. So that treatment will be extended between Mauritius and India in trade in services. The second very important principle is the national treatment, where we say that we are not going to have any discrimination between locally provided services and imported services. Let's say if you have got service providers from India exporting to Mauritius, and we are going to trade these service providers exactly in the same way we treat our own service providers. So it means to say there won't be any discrimination. We have also agreed basically to collaborate on mutual recognition. This is important because the agreement provides for the movement of professionals, for instance, between the two countries. And for this, there is a need for us to recognize the qualifications of these professionals. And in the agreement, there is a proviso that that mandates the professional bodies of both countries to sit down within a period of 1 year and negotiate a mutual recognition agreement so that we can recognize our qualifications, our licensing requirements. So this is provided for, and this is novel in the sense that it is time-bound, and we need to do that. The agreement also provides, it has a number of annexes. There is one annex on the movement of natural persons. There is another annex on financial services, on telecommunications. I will come to these issues, but specifically, you will find that Indian service providers will have access, for instance, to legal services in Mauritius. So if you want to provide legal advisory services, given the fact that Mauritius, in Mauritius, the financial services sector is extremely important, and there are a number of companies providing legal advisory services and financial services. So if there is any professional who would like to provide this service, so they can do that. We allow Indian businesses to provide, to invest in Mauritius in joint partnership in the accounting, auditing, and bookkeeping services. So if you have got a joint partnership with a Mauritian counterpart, so you can establish here in Mauritius. You can provide taxation services. It is completely open. You can provide architectural services. So if there is a firm, architectural firm from India would like to establish in Mauritius, it is possible. But for this, you will need a joint partnership of up to 49%. For engineering services, integrated engineering services, urban planning services, medical services, veterinary services, professionals, all these services are open to Indian professionals. Educational services is open, so it means to say that Indian can open campuses in Mauritius. And this is important. Why? It's not just to service the Mauritian market. In Mauritius, we already have a number of students from Africa. Right now, they come for higher education in Mauritius, and this number is growing. And in the recent budget, which is being now debated in the National Assembly, additional, I would say, incentive have been provided for campuses to be established. So any university which would like to establish in Mauritius will be taxed at only 3%, as compared to the normal taxation of 15%. And then student, for instance, you know, they will be allowed to work in Mauritius while they're studying for 20, I think for 20 hours every week. And then they will be eligible for an occupational permit to stay and work in Mauritius for 10 years. So these are additional sort of incentive measures which have been taken in the budget to position Mauritius basically as an educational hub. And already we have got a number of institutions. You have got Middlesex University from the UK. You have got a number of other London University, Wolverhampton University already providing their services. Of course, we have got also Indian University. I mentioned about Amity. So the sector is open. So Indian service providers in this sector, they're welcome to Mauritius, especially as I indicated, all the incentives which are now being provided. The computer-related services is completely open, environmental services, health services as well. And we're also positioning Mauritius to be a regional hub for medical services. Already, you know, we have got a number of clinics, very well-known clinics, including from India. And now we want to position the country. And we see there are a number of people from the region, from Africa as well. They come for treatment in Mauritius. And we are positioning Mauritius as a medical tourism service center. So it means to say tourists coming to Mauritius, of course, you have the beaches and everything else, but at the same time, they can consume health services. So this is what we are trying to promote. And basically, so there is a possibility to come and establish clinics, more clinics. And here also in the budget, we have got exactly the same incentive that is being provided. Basically, that any operator in health services will be taxed only at 3% as compared to 15%. So these are new opportunities. In the financial services sector, it's always open. So any operator can come to Mauritius. Bank can come and open a branch. An insurance company can come and open a branch here in Mauritius. So the banking sector is very much open. And also, advisory services, consultancy services in the financial services sector, they're also open. Same thing for for telecommunications. It's very much open. And I must add, you know, that when we talk about trade in services, the way services are negotiated, or the way services are traded, they are traded according to what we call modes of supply. And there are 4 different modes of supply. There is one mode, which is what we call cross-border mode, where the services crosses the border, you know. So services which are provided through internet, you know, through telecommunication facilities. For instance, telemedicine can be provided. So what we have done is we have tried to eliminate as far as possible any barrier that might exist on this mode of supply, that is on the cross-border supply of service. The second mode is a movement of consumers. When the consumers move to consume a service, and I've just provided examples, for instance, a patient going to consume the service, so that patient will have to move. And as I indicated, that we are now providing a lot of incentive to set up medical facilities in Mauritius. And also we are eliminating any restriction on the movement of people to go, for instance, to India to consume a service. So a patient can go to India to consume what we call health services, or a patient from India can come to Mauritius, so there is no restriction on that. The third mode of supply, maybe the most important mode, is establishment. So basically, we are talking about the establishment of companies physically in a country. And as far as possible, we have eliminated all barriers for companies from India to come and establish in Mauritius here. Similarly, Mauritian companies also, I mean, those who are interested to invest in India, so they can also go and invest there. And then we have got the fourth mode of supply, which is a movement of natural person. We are talking about the movement of professional. And we have got in the SECPA a whole chapter dedicated to the movement of natural person, that is the movement of professionals. And when we are talking about professionals, so there are so many different professions. And it is possible now for professionals from India to come and provide the service in Mauritius. And for this, we divide these professionals into categories. So we have a business visitors, those who want to come to visit Mauritius to sell their business. So they will be provided a visa for 120 days in a year. We have got intra-corporate transferees. So people who will be coming to work for a company, for an Indian company established in Mauritius. And for this category now, with the new budget, we have expanded the scope of, the number of, the time frame within which this category of service provider can provide the service in Mauritius, and it is up to 10 years. So it is possible for an intra-corporate transferee to be here in Mauritius. They will be given an occupational permit for 10 years to stay and work. And then we have a contractual service supplier. So those who get a contract, so they get a contract in Mauritius, they come, and then they will be provided with visa for the duration of the contract, or for a period of 2 years. So all of these categories are provided for in the SECPA. So there is a possibility of what we call the movement of professionals from India to Mauritius, from Mauritius to India, to come and provide the service. And as I said, now with the new budget, so the time frame within which these professionals can provide the service in Mauritius, this time frame has been substantially increased. And there is a possibility also for spouses and dependents. I mean, those who accompany their spouse here in Mauritius, so they can also work, and they can also get an occupational permit. So you can see that, you know, the argument provides for the movement of professionals and from professionals to come and provide the services. I just want to run down very quickly on the budget measures. I've just mentioned some of them. So this is what I'm talking about, that the validity period for professionals to provide the service has been extended from 3 to 10 years in the new budget. Non-citizen holding an occupational permit, normally you get an occupational permit to do a job, but you can switch job now. So there is this flexibility which has been introduced. And non-citizens, they are allowed to incorporate a one-man company as well and employ administrative staff. It was not possible. Now it is possible. Now we have holders of a 10-year permanent residence permit can automatically now be extended to 20 years. So if you have got a PR, a permanent resident permit, so formally you could stay in Mauritius for 10 years, now for 20 years. So you can see that in this budget, we are further improving the possibilities, the measures to get more and more professionals to come and work in Mauritius. And as I said, so it is a further improvement, I would say, even on the sector. And in the budget now, there are a number of other measures which have been introduced. For instance, we have rationalized a number of incentive schemes. So we have rationalized them now in the budget. There is also what we call the premium investor certificate. For the premium investor certificate, originally, I think that they needed to invest 500 million rupees. And now, if any premium investor, they can come invest 12 million US dollars. And they will be provided with this investor certificate with all the different, as I said, facilities that they will be eligible to. We have further improved the Freeport activities, the facilities provided in the Freeport. We have improved that in the budget. Those operators in the Freeport now, they will have a 50% reduction in port duties and terminal handling charges. And it has been extended for 2 years. And companies now, it has been mentioned by the minister, we are promoting Mauritius as a pharmaceutical hub. And we would like to have more and more investors to come and invest in the pharmaceutical sector in Mauritius. And now the taxation of the pharmaceutical sector has been reduced from 15 years to 3 years only. And government has put a seed capital of 1 billion rupees as seed capital to promote the pharmaceutical industry in Mauritius. So if there is a promoter who is interested, so they can have the seed capital from the government in joint partnership to promote this particular sector. And there is also a facility that has been included in the budget regarding the acquisition of patents. So the government will provide facilities to acquire patents for the production of drugs in Mauritius. So I mean, these are new budget measures. I'm just highlighting them because the SECPA already provides for the possibility to have operators in the pharmaceutical sector to invest in Mauritius. But now we have got additional measures which have been put in place to facilitate further the establishment of pharmaceutical companies in Mauritius. Now we have also been mentioning that the SECPA is not just about bilateral trade relations between Mauritius and India. It has got a broader regional dimension. And I just wanted to put some emphasis on this. First, we all know that Africa is one of the emerging economies in the world, and the opportunities of the African continent on the African continent are really immense. If you look at, for instance, the 54 countries in Africa, the FDI inflows, it is to the tune of 46 billion every year. Average GDP growth of the African continent has been to the tune of 3.4%. And Africa, you have got a plethora of minerals which you can source on the continent. It has got a young population, probably the youngest in the world, and a population of 1.3 billion people, and which is projected to reach 1.7 billion people. Why I'm basically citing all these figures, the reason is very simple, that Mauritius is part and parcel of Africa. We form part of the we are part of the African continent. And by virtue of our location in Africa here, by being an African country, so we have a number of what we call regional economic agreements. And the minister mentioned about the COMESA, Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa. It's a region comprising of 25 member states, and we have got completely duty and quota-free access on the COMESA market. And in that market, you have got countries, very big countries like Egypt, for instance, Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, Zambia, Zimbabwe, very interesting countries indeed with huge potential. And we have got duty-free access on these markets. Then we have got the Southern African Development Community, is another regional economic community. Mauritius is a member of that. And it has got a membership of 14 countries. And then you have got South Africa, for instance, which is a very big country. You have got Angola, other countries. And as I said, we have got complete duty and quota-free access on this market as well. So a combination of all this will give you access to a market of 600 million, completely free. Now, if you position your business in Mauritius, so you can take advantage of these markets. And as I indicated before, I was mentioning about rules of origin. That's where rules of origin become extremely important, because basically the requirement for Mauritius to be eligible for the preferential access would be to put 35% value addition for most products. So basically meaning to say, we can source our production input from outside the region, bring it here, process it, export it to COMESA and SADC, and then be eligible for duty-free treatment. Now, so what it basically means to say that we can develop a value chain between India and Mauritius. So you do 65% of the processing in India, you bring that to Mauritius, you add the 35% value addition here in Mauritius, and then you export that product on the African continent to COMESA and to SADC, and then it can be exported duty-free. So you can basically see the real potential here of developing partnership between Mauritius and India, targeting the African continent. And this can also be replicated. It's not only Africa, but it can be replicated for Europe, because we have the economic partnership agreement with Europe. And then we have the complete duty and quota-free access on the European market. So we can export anything that is produced in Mauritius. Similarly, we have got access on the US market and the Africa growth and opportunity. So basically, an investor who is positioned here in Mauritius, so they can target a number of countries. In fact, we have got duty-free access covering 70% of the world population, because we can export to China, duty-free, quota-free, because we have got a free trade agreement with China, we have got with India, we have got with the African continent, we have got with Europe, we have got with the US. So basically, all these agreements, they cover 70% of the world population. So this is a market that we are talking about. So it is a win-win basically for India and for Mauritius, if we can have investors using Mauritius as a gateway to penetrate these markets. Now, we have also done some assessment of the products that could be interesting to be produced here in Mauritius. And this is a work which we have done basically with the World Bank. We have tried to see what are the products that are imported in huge quantities in Africa. So we have got a whole list of products here. And what we have also done, we have tried to see what is the margin of preference for this product. So the margin of preference for this product, if produced from Mauritius, is extremely high. It is between 25 to 35%. So very high margin of preference. And if you look at these products, they are not what we call, they are quite sophisticated products. They are not like basic products, very sophisticated, which has a high value percentage. Now, for all these products, if you take these three different criteria, one, that the margin of preference is high. Second, is that these products are being imported in huge quantities in Africa. Third, that these are high value products. And fourth, also important, that these products are being produced to a certain extent in Mauritius. What we need to do is to expand the scope of the production facility. So if you take all of these, so I think that we can sit down with India and try to see who are those Indian investors who are interested to export these products. So there are about 50 products. Who are those who are interested to export these? And then we are going to work out what we call a win-win scenario, and the format in which, I mean, this can be done. And in the budget, it is also stipulated that we are going to provide incentive on a case-by-case basis. So if, for instance, there is a company that wants to set up in Mauritius, so we are going to sit with that company and try to see what are the very targeted incentives that can be provided. And in Mauritius, we have got a system of work permit. And so when there is a company established in Mauritius, if there is an investor establishing a company, so there is a possibility also of bringing in a certain number of workers. And for this, we have got a system of work permit, and it is possible. So basically what it means, so you can do the pot production in India, you bring this to Mauritius, you set up a company here, you do the remaining processing, that is by 35%. There is a possibility to bring in workers and senior management from India and professional from India to Mauritius. And then there is a possibility also for us to sit down and see what very specific targeted incentives that can be provided. So all of this makes it that Mauritius becomes an extremely, I would say, interesting place to do business. And in Mauritius, I think that the minister has indicated that you can incorporate a company in just a matter of hours, very quickly. We have got excellent infrastructure for business. We have got a number of parks which are being developed as facilities to promote business. So you can have industrial estates already constructed for that purpose. So I think that it's a win-win scenario. And what I would just request is that the Indian business community, they seriously consider Mauritius as a partner in business, and that we sit down and try to see where we can develop a business partnership, not only to invest in Mauritius for the Mauritian market, but to invest in Mauritius for other markets. And as I said, we are talking about this, about 70% of the world population. So I think that with this, let me end my presentation here. And as I say, I welcome you all to Mauritius. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Narendra Dutt. I think you have really made a very detailed and comprehensive presentation, because all the insights, what all are the possibilities for the Indian company. So I am sure the attendees will have definitely noted down the points, and they will definitely be coming back to you soon on this part. So we once again thank you for a detailed presentation, and we look forward to work very closely with you. As Ambassador Ma'am also mentioned earlier, that we should have a joint sector platform with the Mauritian Chamber. I think they have also suggested that way. So I think under the patronage of the High Commission, we will definitely, like from PhD along with Mauritius Chamber, work very closely with you on these parts, because as I mentioned and you also mentioned, and almost all the panelists have mentioned, that there are huge potentials available for the Indian and Mauritian companies to join hands and work together. So now I would like to invite Mr. Sivraj Nandlal, the Councillor, Investment and Trade Economic Development Board from Mauritius, to also highlight on the trade and investment opportunities.
Thank you, Mr. Naveen. So first of all, I would like to say thank you to Excellency High Commissioner from Delhi. And also thank you to the PhD Chamber and my good friend, Mr. Vijay, and also Mr. Nikaj, who are together on the panel. So thank you a lot. I would like to start the screen share, if that is okay. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Mayank, kindly, yeah, please. You can do that, sir.
Yeah. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible?
Very much visible, sir.
Thank you so much. Yeah. So yes, I mean, just to continue on what has been said previously by the Honorable Minister, by Her Excellency Madam Hanumanji, and also the Director of International Trade Division. So basically here we're going to show you how Mauritius becomes interesting and also increasingly important for Indian companies that are looking for expansion beyond India and looking at particularly the region of Africa. But first of all, we will see how Mauritius plays that role, and then how Indian companies can take advantage and benefit from what are the various benefits and the various advantages that Mauritius is offering to investors, and more particularly to our friends, to our valued investors, to our valued business people from India. Yeah. So before we go into those details, a quick recap on the relationship between Mauritius and India. So the relationship has been there for nearly 200 years now. When our ancestors first landed in Mauritius to work as indentured laborers, and then from there the relationship has grown, has been strengthened over the years in terms of really becoming a very, very strong, today we call it a blood relationship, a special relationship between the two countries. And the diplomatic relationship has been established for 53 years now, since the time Mauritius got its independence. And we have over 60 Indian companies that are firmly established in Mauritius. And the latest addition to this strong relationship between India and Mauritius is the SECPA. So here you can see some government-to-government interaction or cooperation that has taken place in Mauritius. Here you can see the new ENT hospital, the new Supreme Court building, and the landmark project, which is a metro, which is already, I would say the first phase has already been completed and already operating. The second phase will be open, that will be completed during this year. And so this is a major landmark project that where India is helping Mauritius, and Larsen & Toubro is putting the infrastructure for this project in Mauritius. So to come now to the business relationship after the G2G part. So now we see here that in terms of the trade between the two countries, India today stands as the third largest trading partner for Mauritius. And in terms of the exports, Mauritius is exporting around $30 million. Exported rather last year around $30 million of products to India. The most, I would say the more predominant one have been medical devices. And this despite the fact, as Mr. Budu explained, despite the fact that it did not form part of the SECPA. So outside the SECPA, we have been able to export medical devices. So with SECPA now and with medical devices included in the SECPA, so the exports are expected to grow further. But when we look at the imports from India to Mauritius, we see that last year we imported $400 million. So there is a huge gap in terms of the, trade deficit rather, in terms of what we are importing from India and what we're exporting to India. So that trade gap is expected to be reduced through SECPA, because we've seen that when we look at the imports pattern, the goods that are imported from India, we see it's a lot of oil products, that is oil fuel products, which is mostly imported by government. But through SECPA, which gives the opportunity for private businesses, private companies to export their products. So that pattern in terms of the trade gap is expected to be reduced with SECPA. And here you can see how strong is a Mauritius-India linkage in terms of the business. So the major exports that have been going to India include seafood products, optical goods, medical devices, and recycling materials. And as I said, the major imports include petroleum products and all that stuff. And interestingly, in terms of the FDI that has come into India through the double taxation avoidance agreement, so over the years it has represented 30%. Some of the companies which are operating in Mauritius, so you can see both state-owned companies, that is government-owned companies, and also private companies, and they are across sectors. You can see healthcare, you can see education, energy in terms of retail distribution, banking, financial services, IT, telecommunications, infrastructure development, hotel industry. And interestingly, we have today one company which is called Fukuza Project Development Company, which is helping companies in terms of their project development report for investing into Mauritius, but also into Africa. So they are very active now. They have their headquarters in Mauritius. And so they're very active in terms of encouraging Indian investors at looking at the opportunities which are in India and also, in Mauritius and also in Africa. So Mauritius, I'll take you through a quick overview of how you can set up in Mauritius. And here you will see that in terms of the country itself, economy-wise, so we are a small population of 1.3 million. I always say we are 1,000 times less in terms of the population than the population of India. Our land mass is small, but we have a huge exclusive, a large exclusive economic zone of 2.3 million square kilometers, as we are surrounded by water. And the languages that we speak, official language is English and French, but we do speak a third language, like our ancestral language, like Hindi, Bhojpuri, Marathi, Chinese, Urdu, and all those languages we do speak. Yeah. So the main economic sectors, we have manufacturing, which is a main one today, tourism and ocean economy. During the lockdown, the tourism industry has taken a big hit. Financial services, real estate and property, ICT and BPO. So during the lockdown period, we have seen that financial services and technology have done very well. In fact, they have grown during this lockdown period. And Mauritius is not only about those main sectors that I mentioned, but we are a diversified economy. That is, we have logistics, supply chain management, pharmaceuticals, and biotech. And with the budget that was read last Friday, pharmaceuticals and biotech has taken center stage in terms of manufacturing. So we have professional services, consumer business, energy, and green technology. So energy is another major area of thrust in this budget. Agro-industry, media and creative, and smart cities. So which are the opportunities for Indian companies that are looking for investing in Mauritius or doing business in Mauritius? So manufacturing, I mentioned pharmaceutical, there's pharmaceutical, nutraceuticals, from medical devices, high-tech agriculture, food processing. Financial services, we have investment banking, wealth and asset management, restructuring, so companies can come and set up their structure in Mauritius, and then for cross-border investment or the regional headquarters or even family office. In terms of healthcare, education, logistics. So there are a whole range of industries, where a whole range of sectors where Indian companies can set up business or investment in Mauritius, including IT, digital technology, startups, e-commerce. We have recently come up with the e-commerce guidelines that allows companies to set up e-commerce activities in Mauritius. So these are some of the other areas where we are targeting. I mean, I've already mentioned about the pharmaceutical products and all that. So I will come to the pharmaceutical and life sciences part later, a little bit later, just to explain to you what we're doing there. And other areas that we are also looking into. So I mentioned startups and e-commerce, but we do have a free port activities that happen in Mauritius. Basically, the free port is for regional trade, regional distribution. That is, companies that are not interested in setting up, I would say, value-added activities in Mauritius. They just want to do trading. So they can set up a free port entity and then do the trading out of Mauritius into the region. So I mentioned about the pharmaceutical and life sciences part, which I will come later. So just to mention to you here, so they are already built infrastructure in terms of industrial premises, which are available. If companies want to come and set up just to start their operations, they bring their machines, their equipment, and then they set it up in the ready, in the built-up infrastructure, and then they can start operation. And these infrastructure are available all around the island. And here, now, as I mentioned about the pharmaceutical sector, which has now taken center stage with the budget speech. So today, the pharmaceutical sector, today we have one company, which is one Indian company rather, which is present in Mauritius, Ajanta Pharma, and they have been there for so many years now. And yes, and in terms of the incentives that are provided today for these type of activities, so there is an 8-year tax holiday. There is a waiver on building and land use permit in terms of the fees for the construction. So there is no registration fee, land transfer tax. And we're also providing margin of preference. That is, if a company, an Indian company is coming and setting up in Mauritius to produce and supply to the local market, that is to government. So in fact, it's not 15, it is 20% margin of preference, which is being provided. And very importantly, unlike India, where you have to pay import duties on what you are importing into India, even if it is for industrial use, in Mauritius, if you're producing, you are importing equipment, machines, plants, raw materials, there is no import duty. So you are exempted from the import duty payments. So you don't have to pay any import duties. And there is an industrial tariff for electricity. Today, it is around 7 cents dollar for 1 unit of electricity for industrial activities. And as I mentioned, so we are developing a pharmaceutical and life sciences park, which is being developed by Lenscope Mauritius, which is again a government entity. And Lenscope Mauritius recently launched an expression of interest for companies to come and set up their activities for pharmaceutical production in the life sciences park. So if any company is interested, we will be more than happy to help them and to take their project forward. In the medical devices sector, again, that also is very important sector that Mauritius has developed and is continuing to develop. As you can see here, today, India is the second largest export market for medical devices from Mauritius, for Mauritius-based companies. And today it represents, India represents nearly 1/3 of that export from Mauritius. And the main products which are exported include stents, catheters, implants, and various other products. And interestingly, Mauritius today manufactures 5% of the global demand for catheters. And this is just to give you a design of the life sciences park, which is being developed in Mauritius, which is on the corridor, on the highway between, on the corridor between Port Louis, which is the capital city, and the airport. So it is very centrally located for companies that are coming, that are looking forward to come and set up. So they can either lease service land and start to develop, build their own factory, and then start their production, or they can take space from available buildings which are there. So that was about the manufacturing part. Now I'll just quickly go through the Mauritius as a financial center. So in terms of the international financial center, as we know, as I mentioned earlier, Mauritius has contributed nearly 30% of FDI into India for the past 21 years. So Mauritius plays a very important role as a financial center in the region. It is a leading financial center in the region. And we have around 50 double taxation agreements that we have signed with many countries, including more than 20 with Africa and also with India, as I mentioned earlier. So that gives a very good leverage in terms of companies that are looking for investing, Indian companies looking for investing in India, in Africa, and Mauritius being their base in terms of structuring their investments, setting up their regional headquarters, and investing in projects in Africa. So Mauritius, as I mentioned, so there can be investment which can take place as cross-border investment. So here you can set your regional headquarters, global funds, investment holdings for debt financing. Companies can also look at investment banking activities or listing and capital raising. So we have a stock exchange where companies, if they're interested to set up, to take a second listing, so they can always look at Mauritius also in terms of their second listing. There are more than 12,000 companies which are registered in Mauritius, international companies, more than 1,000 global funds which have set up in Mauritius. Assets under management today have crossed $400 billion. Another interesting area is the film industry. In the film industry, the vision has always been to develop Mauritius as a filmmaking destination, which is fully geared towards film shooting, dubbing, post-production, and animation. So it covers pre-production, production, and post-production through the film rebate scheme that we have set up for companies to do their production in Mauritius. So the film rebate scheme, as I mentioned, it covers all these different aspects, and it has a whole range of category of production that can take place. It's about feature film, high-end TV commercials, documentaries, TV programs and serials, or even music video and dubbing. And there are certain criteria that have to be adhered to be complied to be able to benefit from the film rebate scheme. And some of the qualified production expenditures, as we call it, so the QPEs include ground transport and logistics, remuneration for cast and crew, accommodation, location fees, even your travel from India to Mauritius is covered under this film rebate scheme. So film producers, and India is a very major and is a leader in terms of the film production in Mauritius, as you can see here. So India today is a leader, as I mentioned. So 31% of the production that happened in Mauritius under the film rebate scheme came from Indian producers. So it is very important after we give you all these different investment areas, investment opportunities, to understand how you do it and who do you get in touch with to take your project forward. So the Economic Development Board comes into the picture. So the Economic Development Board, that is the EDB of Mauritius, it is a nodal agency of government operating under the Ministry of Finance, Economic Planning and Development. So it is a single window agency for your investment and for your business. It has 4 core mandates, which include strategic economic planning, trade and investment promotion, business facilitation, and country branding. So here today we are speaking about trade and investment promotion. So how do you do it if you have to set up in Mauritius? First of all, you submit your business plan to Mauritius, to EDB Mauritius. After your business plan has been assessed and in principle approval has been given, so you incorporate your company with the registrar of companies, you submit your applications for permits and clearances. If your project requires an EIA clearance, that is an environmental clearance, so you have to submit your application. You can do it through the EDB also, or even if you're setting up a pharmaceutical project, so there are requirements in terms of clearance from the Ministry of Health. So there are certain requirements from the Ministry of Health, so you need to submit your clearances, applications for that. So as I said, you can do this either directly or through the EDB, as the EDB is acting as a single window agency for you. And then after that, you submit your application for occupation permit, and this is done at the level of the EDB again, because there is an online process. The EDB processes the application and then informs you of the application, whether it has been approved or not. So the process is done entirely by the EDB. After that, after you've got your application approved in terms of the project, you submitted your clearances and permits and all that, so you can go and open a bank account, but you can also do it in between if you wish. That's not an issue. You register with the different authorities like the Mauritius Revenue Authority, the customs. If you're an export-oriented unit, you have to register. You pay your trade fee with the local authority, and then you are ready to go. So good to go. So you start your operations. And now if you have plans to export from Mauritius, again, you talk to the EDB for your market development activities, because the EDB carries what we call market development programs, that is export promotion, trade promotion in different countries. Of course, today it is happening virtually, but before the pandemic, and I'm sure after everything has eased up, EDB will take this role again in terms of assisting and helping local companies in terms of their exports. And if you are visiting Mauritius for your investment or business prospection, again, EDB is here to facilitate meetings with relevant stakeholders for a meaningful and productive visit for you. So why Mauritius now? It is very important to understand why Mauritius. So it is a safe place, predictable, and also stable. The business-friendly environment is very important to look at in terms of how Mauritius helps you and makes it as easy and efficient and fast for you to start your business. So international benchmarks, Mauritius, in terms of the ease of doing business, World Bank ease of doing business today, we are ranked 13th and first in Africa for the past 15 years. And this is not the only index where we are first, but there are many other indices, like the Mo Ibrahim Index of African Governance, even in terms of the Global Competitive Index. Mauritius is a leading business-friendly platform. So it is very important to understand why you should invest in Mauritius. Because if you think that, okay, you want to come and set up in Mauritius, but when you look at the market is small, it's just 1.3 million people, it doesn't make sense to you. But then when you look at the different reasons why Mauritius, then you will see, yes, it makes sense for you to come and set up your project, your investment in Mauritius. So we have preferential market access to 70% of the world population. When we say preferential market access, it is because of the different trade agreements that we have with different parts, whether it is with the developed market or whether it it is with the emerging markets. So we have preferential market access. We are a leading home of private equity funds for investment into Africa. In fact, 40% of the investment happening in Africa goes through the Mauritius IFC. So this is, excuse me, so this is about the preferential market access. At least it gives you a quick overview. You see that the developed markets are US, EU, UK, US under the AGOA, UK under the EPA, and also EU under the Economic Partnership Agreement. And then we have the emerging markets, that is China, FTA, Turkey, FTA, Pakistan, Preferential Trade Agreement. But most importantly, the most recently signed one is with India, that is a SECPA, Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement. So SECPA, but also very important because when you're producing, as I mentioned, you have to look at Mauritius as a destination that provides you market access, duty-free access to 70% of the world population. And in this 70%, one very important component is the regional market of Africa. Today we have COMESA, we have SADC, where you can export duty-free. And with the coming into operation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreement, for all the 54 countries that have signed the agreement, so the market of Africa is open. The market of Africa today represents 1.2 billion people, so which is equally the same size as that of India. So just imagine you come and set up your production plant in Mauritius, and you have an immediate market which is equal to the size of India for your exports duty-free. This is possible today. But to start, it is a phased process, because today with COMESA and SADC, you have 28 countries where you have duty-free access. And when AFCFTA is completely operational, then it will be the entire continent of Africa that will give you that duty-free access. And of course, for duty-free access, it's not just that you bring a product which is made in India, you bring it to Mauritius and you export, you expect it to be duty-free. This will not happen because the product remains Indian origin. So for the product to qualify to any of the preferential market access, it has to be qualified as Mauritius origin, that is made in Mauritius. It is either through value addition or either through a change in tariff headings that you can do. So again, I mean, I've already explained about the diversified economy that Mauritius is. So the business environment, again, it is very important. So you can set up your company within a day. In fact, within hours, you can set up your company after you have submitted your all your documents to the registrar of companies. So then you get your certificate of incorporation, which is basically your company is born. And after that, you can start the whole process, as I mentioned earlier, in terms of the steps that you have to go through. And what are the benefits of the fiscal, from the fiscal perspective? So the benefits are that you have income tax, corporate tax, and VAT, which are all harmonized at 15%, one single rate. So you don't have to think about if I'm doing X amount of income, I have to pay that much, or if I'm doing Y amount of income, I have to pay this much. No, it's just 15%. However, very important is that because there are certain priority sectors, as I mentioned earlier, pharmaceuticals is one of them. So we are providing some more benefits, that is tax holiday for 8 years or even for 10 years in some cases. There's a rule of law, no capital gains tax. So you have your project, you set up, and you decide to wind it up, and so you have to dispose of the assets and everything. So there is no capital gains tax in that. No exchange control, so you are free to repatriate your money in and out of your capital in and out of Mauritius. So no questions asked, you just inform your bank and the transaction will be done. And 100% foreign ownership is allowed. So you can also choose to go into a joint venture, but you have this option of 100% foreign ownership. The legal system in Mauritius is a hybrid one. So it is based on the French law and also on the British common law. So the Mauritius advantage, as I mentioned, there is a corporate tax of 15%. So this is how already been covered. So the infrastructure, we have modern infrastructure, and we continue to develop the infrastructure every year. Even in Friday's budget for next year, many infrastructure projects, new infrastructure projects have been announced again. So the seaport, the road network, the airport, the infrastructure for when you're staying in Mauritius in terms of healthcare, in terms of education, everything is available. So here you can see a beautiful picture of the cyber city, which is in Eben, and where many global companies have set up, whether they're into financial services, into IT, or into education. For example, Amity has set up its campus here in Eben Cyber City. And the Indian High Commission is setting up its new premises in the cyber city. So the SECPA has already been spoken about at length. So just to mention here, it is, I mean, as has been already been said, but just to mention very quickly, so some of the products here, special sugar, rum, beer, fruit, wine, garments, canned sugar. If you look at special sugar, so we are producing a range of special sugars, which are into 3 main families and 18 varieties. And the beauty of our special sugars is that they contain, I mean, they are natural. Basically, there is no additives added to it. So it is wholesome, it is authentic, special. The choice is good, the quality, and it is a premium sort of special sugar that we are producing in Mauritius. And SECPA allows us to export it at 10%, at a reduced tariff of 10% into India. So the services has been exported about. So Africa has been said, I will go on that one. So it is very important when you come to a place and you have that peace of mind, you have your business, you know where there's a place to stay and you're very happily living in Mauritius. So you can either come to invest as an investor, or you come as a professional to work. You're living there, or you can also retire in Mauritius at the same time. So what are the options for you here? So the options are you apply for your occupation permit. For investors, it has been extended from 3 to 10 years for investors. And now in the last budget also for professionals also, it has been extended to 10 years. So the permanent residence permit also has been extended to 10 years. Now we also allow retired non-citizens, that is above the age of 50, if they want to retire, they have worked in it in their life, or now they want to retire, they can come and retire in Mauritius. So this is also possible. So parents are allowed to come and stay as dependents, and any non-citizen with or without an occupation permit or residency permit, they may acquire also apartments, I mean, on ground plus 2, I mean, they can acquire, that is also possible. Yes. So these are some of the criteria. Basically, today we have reduced the criteria for an investor to invest in Mauritius. It is 50,000 minimum, $50,000 minimum for investing in Mauritius. So we have also come up with a premium travel visa. What does this mean? So the premium travel visa is about a long stay visa of 12 months, which can be renewed, because during the lockdown, we're trying to see how there are people who have made use of this facility, and they are in Mauritius, they are working remotely from Mauritius. So it is about working remotely from Mauritius, enjoying the unique lifestyle, and also staying in the safe environment. And it is open to all professionals, foreign professionals, families, and also retirees, as well as digital nomads. So, and as I mentioned earlier, so the budget speech was read on Friday last. So some of the measures that have been announced. So border reopening is happening as well from the 15th of July. But during this period of 15th of July until 30th of September, there will be a 14 days. The tourists will have to stay in the hotel. They cannot go out from the hotel. And after the 14 days, and with a negative PCR test, then they can go out. But as from 1st of October, all vaccinated persons, I will say, foreigners, they can come with a negative PCR. They will be allowed to come to Mauritius without any restriction. Ease of doing business. So we are rationalizing further in terms of our ease of doing business in terms of the investment scheme. So we are coming up with an investment certificate, export development certificate, and also with a premium investor certificate. What does this mean? The premium investor certificate means a minimum investment of 500 million Mauritian rupees. If you convert it into Indian rupees, it's almost double, 100 crore. Yes, and but for manufacturing of pharmaceutical products, we have exempted them from this minimum investment. And the biotechnology and pharmaceutical industry, as I said, it has taken center stage. So we are providing more incentives in terms of companies which are coming and setting up in this industry. So we are also promoting exports. So to promote exports, now EDB will set up a trade development and intelligence cell, which will act as a one-stop desk for all trade-related matters. introduction of an EDP, which is an export development program at the EDB to improve the export readiness of enterprises. The freight rebate scheme that has been there for a number of years, it is being extended again for another 1 year. The export credit guarantee scheme also, the refund, which is being extended from 0.2% to 0.5% for the next financial year. And we have the export credit insurance scheme, which is now becoming eligible for free-port operators, which have been heavily impacted by the pandemic. So this will be effective again until the end of the next financial year. So EDB, we are present across a number of regions. So Mumbai, I am based in Mumbai. In Europe, in Paris and London. In Africa, we're present in Johannesburg, Pretoria, and Nairobi. And then in this part of Asia, in Tokyo, Shanghai, Japanese, China, and Singapore. So now I have said everything. I think it's time for you to take your turn and look at Mauritius to come and work, invest, work, live, and retire in Mauritius. So when we speak about the Mauritius-India cooperation in the post-COVID era, there are two words that summarize everything. It is about optimism and it is about opportunity with sector. So if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, go together and you will succeed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nandlal. It was indeed a very nice presentation. And as you rightly finished, opportunity and optimism. So we need to actually work on those things. So I'm sure that the attendees and from chamber, we will definitely look forward to work closely with you.
Thank you.
So now I go to our counterpart, I would say Ms. Ruma Narayan Pillai, the Manager Trade Division, Mauritius Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to give the private sector perspective from Mauritius. Over to you, Ruma ji. Ma'am, you need to unmute, ma'am.
Okay. Is that okay now? Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. Good evening, everyone. Your Excellency, Mrs. Hanumanji, dear friends from the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. So I'll be brief because I think the subject has been extensively covered by the previous speakers, by Mr. Boudou and Mr. Nandlal. So I'll just probably just tell you a few, just share a few slides on the chamber itself and probably on the way forward, which I think is very important at this stage. So briefly, the MCCI was set up in 1850. In Mauritius, we're the only chamber of commerce. There's only one chamber of commerce in Mauritius. And we are a fully private sector organization, and we are here primarily to support the business community and contribute to the socioeconomic development of the country. We are a multi-sectoral private sector organization covering different sectors: commerce, industry, financial services, ICT, logistics, property development, tourism, and other business services. And our membership comprises of about 90-95% of the top 100 companies. So we're really very representative of the Mauritian private sector in Mauritius. Our key role, we really helping to find business interest in Mauritius and in the world, and bilaterally as well. So it's primarily advocacy and making sure through that they participate in the national trade and development of economic and trade policy, as well as we engage in business and regulatory reforms. What I think is important, I think it's been very much covered in today's presentation. That is why should you choose Mauritius. I think what I really want you to retain for today is three main outcomes of this intervention this afternoon. That is, you come to Mauritius to set up because of the ease of doing business, which is one of the key criteria. Second would be for the trade agreements network, because by manufacturing and producing in Mauritius, whether it's goods and services, You have access to a huge trade agreement network. And thirdly, we are really very investment friendly with a wide range of investment incentives. So because of the three, I would like probably to have to be these three main retainers for your private sector here to come and invest. I won't go into the details again because it's been very much covered by, very much covered by the EDB and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I mean, for us coming to set up in Mauritius gives you a huge market access and a lot of preferences that will allow you to go through Africa and a lot of other developed markets in the world. Just as mentioned, this has already been covered as well by EDB. So there's you really have to come and set up your plant into Mauritius, and that and of course ensure that there's substantial transformation in everything that that is manufactured in Mauritius. The investment schemes have been thoroughly covered by the EDB as well, and these are on the right-hand side, the main priority sectors that are being encouraged by government for newly set up investment as announced in the budget. But you can see it's quite wide ranging, and these are probably things that you should be focusing on for potential investors in Mauritius in terms of sectors covered and also in terms of incentives and investment schemes that have been newly announced in the budget. Probably why I would expand probably a little bit more on what the chamber does. We have quite a wide private sector network. We are linked with the International Chamber of Commerce and Industry, as well as the World Chambers Federation. And we are also founder members of the COMISA, SADC and African Business Council. So we can really help you with the networking with businesses in the region, and we play a very active role. At the moment, Mauritius is the president of the COMISA Business Council. So we play a very active role in the African Chamber Business Council, African and Regional Business Council. We also have bilateral business council with FICCI in India, FICCI and CII in India, as well as with other chambers of commerce in China, France, and Pakistan. So we would be interested in furthering formalizing, if you want, our relationship with the PHC Chamber of Commerce. That's something that we can work through the High Commission in India. And we have also signed a large number of bilateral MOUs with chambers of commerce in various countries, about more than 25. And this network really strengthens our position in the Indian Ocean, and also to work with other chambers and make use of these trade agreements that we have. And lastly, I said I would be brief because a lot of it has been covered. I think lastly, we have been saying that SECPA is here, the incentives are here, and it's for us private sector to make things happen. And this is where we came with this idea of having this joint public-private sector committee to monitor the implementation of SECPA and all of the benefits that both countries in terms of private sector can derive. How we can actually make these joint ventures and partnerships happen. We are here to make things happen, the chambers, to link our businesses and to link our operators. And we need to work out on a proper roadmap to make things happen and to make this export of goods and services between Mauritius and India and between Mauritius and the world through, of course, investment from India possible. So for us, then this is only the first step. And the next step would be to come up with something more formal and more targeted and a proper roadmap to formalize a bit that relationship and start looking at investment and export opportunities and trade opportunities. So I said I'll be short. I'll rather give some time for question and answers, and we can exchange. I'll be happy to exchange with yourselves at any time, even after the meeting as well. So that's all for me.
Thank you very much, Rumaji, for this brief but to the point presentation, I would say. As you rightly mentioned, we would also like to be very happy to be associated with the MCCI for bilateral MOU for sure. And as Ambassador Madam also mentioned about the joint sector public-private platform, so we are keen to be associated. So we can further discuss after this meeting. We'll try to seek an appointment with Ambassador Madam and go over and discuss in detail about this thing. So thank you very much once again. So now I think we can put the floor open. I would request our chair Vivek ji to give some ideas or maybe some questions which he have.
Thank you, Naveen ji. Thank you. It has been a very exhaustive presentation, and Mr. Narayan Dutt Bodhu has given us a full comprehensive idea about the SECPA under the guidance from Madam Hanumanji, who has taken the initiative. And Mr. Nandlal has actually opened a new dimension to the whole investment opportunity in Mauritius. I have a few questions here, which I will put up. There are 3 or 4 questions, but very sharp and pointed. For Mr. Nandlal, you're talking about the investment in pharma sector. The biggest issue what we will be facing is registration of the product in the various African countries. They are not only cumbersome, but they are expensive. So what is the way out? Assume we set up a pharma unit producing some generic products in Mauritius, and we need the access to Africa. We know we can get duty-free access, but what about the registrations and the cost of registration?
So registration will be the same. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Okay, thank you. So, there's an echo here. That's why. Okay. Yeah. Let me just mute. Hello. Yes. So I was saying that registration will be the same like if you're doing it exporting from India to Africa. It will be the same. There will be no change because each and every country in Africa, they have their own system of registration. So it won't change. Even if you're producing from Mauritius and exporting to any country in Africa, so that registration process will be there in that importing country as it is. Yeah, that won't change. But yes, I mean, given now that we are part of AFCFTA, so this can be taken at a Pan-African level. It will take time, but this is something that can be taken so that there is a common registration process for all African countries.
Yes, that will make a lot of sense. If you have a common registration process, or if through some agreement or some setting, if Mauritius can get this done at a broader level on the table, then it will speed up the investments. My second question is, you are mentioning about lychee and pineapple exports from Mauritius into India. Mr. Bodhu was mentioning about this. Mr. Narayan Dutt Bodhu was talking about lychee and pineapple exports from Mauritius to India at 10% duty. So what about the NPPO clearances? You see, any agro product coming into India requires NPPO clearance, which is a cumbersome 2-year process. So do we have any setting off in the SECPA agreement?
Yeah, if you would allow me, yes. I was mentioning that in the SECPA, there is a whole chapter dealing with sanitary and phytosanitary measures. And, basically the intention of this chapter is precisely to facilitate interaction between the agencies. For instance, in Mauritius, we have got the NPPO as the Minister of Agro-Industry. And in India, of course, there is an institution. So what we are trying to do right now is to have an MOU signed between the NPPO in Mauritius and the institution in India, precisely to see how we can foster the conclusion, of any agreement that would facilitate basically the export of these products. But I also said that, we are already exporting these products, be it pineapple or lychees, to all over Europe. And we all know that, the requirements in Europe, if you compare with any country in the world, these are the highest requirement in terms of norms, in terms of standards, in terms of sanitary and phytosanitary measures. So from that angle, I can at least tell you that it won't be a big deal. But there is already interaction, as I said, between the institution in Mauritius and India, precisely to fast track the conclusion of these MOUs that I just mentioned. And I think that once this is done, it will be easier for us then to be able to export agricultural products, because we know that agriculture is not just like any other product. So you need to have special sort of sanitary and phytosanitary certificate to be able to do that. But this is being taken care of, and as I said, it's provided for in the segment.
Thank you, and well taken. My third question about the visa, you said about one-man company visa. So does this also have validity of 10 years?
So if I may, yeah. So in terms of the one-man company, basically, I mean, we have, in terms of the occupation permit, we have 3 categories, or rather 4 categories. One is occupation permit for investor. One is occupation permit for professional, that is somebody who is coming, is employed by a company in Mauritius and working in Mauritius, for foreigner, of course. The other one is occupation permit for self-employed, and the fourth one is occupation permit for retired non-citizens. So the third category, that is occupation permit for self-employed. So what was happening, that is they have an occupation permit for self-employed, means that they have to work for themselves, but they cannot employ anybody in their for their activity for their business. So this was a hurdle. So this hurdle is now being removed. So by way of allowing the self-employed to register a company, so the self-employed will be the sole shareholder in the company, and then they can employ administrative staff for their business. This is the main thing. So basically, the self-employed or the one-man company will be entitled to the same occupation permit, that is for 10 years. Yeah.
Thank you. And my last question I have is on the textile products. We know that Mauritius today is making a lot of branded garments and is doing very well, and the world's one of the largest hub for making branded garments. There could be a big opportunity of tying up with manufacturers with the permission of the brand owner to bring in garments into India and sell garments in India. So are we talking about 35% duty now reduced to 15%, or will that be done in stages over 3 years?
On this one, in fact, we are already exporting garments to India, but it will be an immediate reduction. So not a reduction, it's an immediate elimination of the duty. So it's not going to be staggered over a certain period of time, but it has already been removed as from the 1st of April of this year. And, we are basically talking.
So basically 35 becomes 15. So 35% it becomes 15%.
No, it's 0. So there is no duty at all.
No duty.
Completely, it has already. Yeah.
So my last question is about food processing industries. I went to Mauritius last year and I saw there's a huge scope for food processing industries. In fact, there can be a lot of import of fruits from mainland Africa into Mauritius, like for instance, oranges. And oranges can be bought from various countries in Africa, and it can be juiced in Mauritius and re-exported. So do you think that this could be a good plan for Mauritius, basically a food processing sector?
Thank you, if you would allow me. In fact, if you look at the budget, we are setting up an agricultural processing zone. It's a new concept. We all know of export processing zone, but here in the budget, there is a concept of an agricultural processing zone. And the intention is precisely this. Because, if you look at the rules of origin requirements in the CFTA, that is in the African Continental Free Trade Area agreement, there is this need for us to be able to source the products, the raw materials from Africa. You bring it, you process it, and then you re-export. So I think that this is what we are trying to do, and this is what we have been trying to do for a very long time. And with some countries, we even have agreements, for instance, with Mozambique. We had acquired a lot of land with Madagascar. And the idea is that we're going to grow, the crops there, you bring it to Mauritius, you do the processing. And I think that this is what you are also talking about. So in the budget, a lot of facilities are being provided, and the whole intention is to see how we can transform Mauritius into precisely a processing, not hub, but at least one of the activities would be processing. And we can also bring in from India. We do the processing here in Mauritius as well. This is also possible. But as I said, I mean, we do have the rules of origin requirement, but some products, it's a bit less stringent than for other products. But there is full scope of doing this, and that, and of course we can do that. And I think that the CFTA, that the African Continental Free Trade Area, is, in my view, one of the most important destinations from where we can source, bring to Mauritius, process, and then we export. Fully, it's very much possible.
Sir, excellent. Thank you very much for all my answered questions. All I can say is that this is the first time and first in the series where seriously we have gone in depth into offering of services and opportunity in a country. May I now request at this level to convert this into a task force within the chamber, wherein 3 people from your side and 3 from our side, we actually get into the nitty-gritty and detail and start promoting investments. Let this webinar not end today. Let it get converted into a task force which PhD can offer under the aegis of our Naveen Sethji, and we can take it forward from here. This can be a fantastic idea in today's times.
Thank you very much, Chairman, sir. Definitely, we will take this further. I will discuss with SG, and we will take this further. And under the guidance of High Commissioner, we will definitely like to take this along with the Mauritian Chamber and to take it further. Now, I would like to invite Surinder Kalra ji, who is our co-chair for International Affairs Committee for MENA, as also the associate partner for today's webinar as well. So, Kalra ji, over to you.
Good evening. I'm really thankful to Naveen ji and SG sir for inviting me for this. And I have my own personal association with Mauritius since my childhood. I'm really thankful to His Excellency, the Minister, as well as the Commerce Secretary, and Ms. Roma from the Chamber of Commerce. Their presentations were very good. First thing I want to request is that the Minister, Mr. Ganu and Roma ji, to kindly share your presentations. I want to see them again and again and go deeper and read between the lines. Second is that regarding the pharmaceutical sector, what we were talking about, India is no doubt called the pharmacy of the world. We are also exporting 60% of the generic drugs to USA and the European Union. But the issue is that there is a raw material called API. For export purposes, 40% of the API is imported from China, and for domestic market, the entire API is available in India. When we set up a pharmaceutical unit in Mauritius, what is the availability of raw material called API for export purposes of generic drugs? Second is regarding pollution norms there, because what we have been working very hard, my company has been working very hard with the Chinese pharmaceutical companies for the past 5 years. And we know that almost 5 major API manufacturing companies in China have closed down because of the strict pollution norms there. And so as a result, API availability has shortened. Second is, suppose we manufacture, this is a second question under the pharmaceutical sector, that we manufacture them and export them as bulk in cascades like beer or whiskey, and we do the repacking there in the capsule form in the plastic coating. Would that tantamount to 35% of the balance and the certificate of origin to be exported from Mauritius? My third point is regarding, we are a firm of chartered accountants. Almost 40 years and we are having our associates in Japan, China, Taipei, and other countries, and even in GCC countries like Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, and even in Germany and Africa, in Zimbabwe. So what happens is that regarding the other things like arbitration and mediation and international taxation, we would like to work with the embassy in New Delhi. And further, for the Indian generic drugs manufacturers, if they have the US FDA certifications, or any other company like Chinese company has got a US FDA certification, they can sell their products in India, but they have to get the permission from the Indian FDA. But the certification becomes very easy. Our certification authority has been ranked first in the world by the WHO, and it takes hardly 6 months to get the certifications. And if it is already US FDA, then it becomes very easy. It takes 1 or 2 months for them to get the certification in India. Suppose we have our product already certified by, or our factory also in India certified by US FDA, then whether we again, like my friend Mr. Agarwala was asking, when we go from Mauritius to other African countries, would that be little easy for us, or how does the framework work then? If you are already US FDA certified. These are my 3-4 questions.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. So in terms of the API availability, I mean, given that API production itself it is a very polluting activity, and Mauritius, we are very conscious about it. And Mauritius, we are very conscious about the environment, and we have a very strong tourism sector. So you have to strike the right balance of what polluting activities can be allowed. So what we encourage companies to do when they're coming for pharmaceutical products manufacturing in Mauritius. So we prefer that they do the first part, that is upstream. API is already done, so they can bring the API in Mauritius, and then they do the formulation, and then do their packing, and then after that they can supply the market, or they can export. This is one. That's the API.
If you do only the packing in Mauritius, if you only do the packing and put the medicine and the formulation into the plastic capsule and cover it and put the wrapper in Mauritius, would that tantamount to 35% and being certificate of origin as Mauritius, made in Mauritius? No.
No, unfortunately not.
No.
I see.
No, this is
very practical question.
Unfortunately not possible. It's not possible because precisely to get the 35%, there is something which calls substantial transformation. And what you are suggesting, because in any protocol on rules of origin, there are things that we call minimal processing, and normally the packaging would fall under the minimal processing, and then the minimal processing does not confer originating status. So that would not be possible. That would be basically just transshipping more or less from Mauritius. So to do this in Mauritius, so you will have to add the 35% value addition. And then there is a whole lot of criteria, because we are talking about local content in terms of, the salaries that you would pay to the workers, utilities and amortization of, machinery, etc., etc. And so all of this, when combined together would give you 35%. But just to do the packaging and, that one certainly qualified.
So regarding IT services, we have our, suppose the new concept is coming up is Industry 4.0, which includes blockchain, IoT, and artificial intelligence. So what is the scope of such services in Mauritius? We are not talking about BPO. So these are all old classical things of the 80s. Now we're talking about Industry 4.0 solutions. So what is the scope for such things? Particularly, you see, what happened was last year we heard that one oil tanker got cracked and it was totally broken in the maritime zone of Mauritius, and there were a lot of problems. Last month we heard about some problem when ship getting evergreen getting stuck up in Suez Canal. Last week, fortnight, a ship has been burned near the maritime zone of Sri Lanka. So same thing happens there. There are companies which are providing solutions on Industry 4.0 that the ship which is to go to Port Louis starts from the moment it starts from Singapore, like an aeroplane, it sends a message that all these things are there. And with the help of Industry 4.0, the port authorities in Port Louis can come to know that whether there is any disaster going to take place in this ship on en route to Port Louis. So all those things are very much prevalent now because Japan and other countries have already developed this IoT systems with the ships coming up. So what is the scope for these latest IoT things or the IT Industry 4.0 solutions in Mauritius? Being an important maritime zone.
Yes. So
yes, okay. Go ahead.
If I may, so then this one on the IT services, definitely, Mauritius, we are, especially after the virus, broke, spread around. So we came very much aware that technology is taking center stage. That's the first thing, the digital technology. So with this now, our focus has been, because as I mentioned earlier, we have developed the cyber city. The cyber city was basically for the BPO and the call center services. But over the years, this has graduated to the next level. The next level means which is the value-added services. Like we're speaking about augmented reality, machine learning, cloud-based services, SaaS and all those things, including IoT and different things. So you have, you took the example of a very specific sector that is the maritime services, but we are looking beyond that. We are looking not only at the maritime industry, but we're looking beyond that. And because today technology is cutting across all sectors, across the life of every single individual. So we're looking from that perspective, and we're encouraging companies to come and set up in Mauritius, whether it is for cloud-based technologies, for IoT services, or for different other services, including, as I mentioned earlier, we also have come up recently with e-commerce guidelines. So if a company wants to set up an e-commerce business in Mauritius, that also we have come up with that sort of guidelines that is there. And the good thing about setting up in Mauritius now, we have a startup ecosystem. So the startup ecosystem is also there. And so you can come and set up as a startup and then grow your business. You're looking at the local sectors.
Which are the other sectors other than maritime, which I gave the example? You said that there are other sectors also, which could include this artificial intelligence, IoT, and blockchain.
Yes. For example, you can look at the healthcare sector. Healthcare sector, it needs to be digitized, I would say. So this is one. Education sector. Today, everything is moving online in terms of because of the lockdown and all that. So education has moved online. So I think going forward, this is going to be the trend. Even in terms of the trade, trading with the region, trading with Africa, getting information about the different, data in terms of all the different agreements that Mauritius has today, in terms of the SECPA or FTA with China or with the other countries. So we need to have that sort of real-time information which is available for the investor to be able to take an informed decision. So, so these are the different sectors that we're looking at. And the most important aspect also here, I would say, is that when setting up in Mauritius, look at Mauritius also as a base, as a platform, because of the bilingualism that we have. That is, Mauritius, we speak English and French, official languages. So, and this is going to be a major advantage when somebody wants to develop or expand in Africa. Because Africa, you have both English-speaking and also French-speaking countries. So that gives a major advantage to companies to set up in Mauritius. And like this, we have companies which have already set up in Mauritius. For example, if you look at the Huawei, Huawei is a major IT company, telecom company from China. They have their regional headquarters in Mauritius, and they are servicing almost the entire of Africa from Mauritius. Similarly, there is a shipping line from Germany, a shipping company from Germany, which has set up its shared services center in Mauritius and servicing the region. So that way, I mean, in Mauritius as a market, yes, but also Africa as a next expansion, as a next growth stage. Yeah.
So whether Mauritius has got any 5G services from highway?
5G is not there yet, but it's on the plan. It's in the plan. But I don't know whether it's going to be Huawei or somebody else. I don't know about that. I know where you're coming at, but I can't say whether it's going to be from Chinese or from other nations. I mean, if India is willing to offer, why not? We are more than happy to discuss.
Can I just add something to this one? You know, if you look at the budget, which has just been not been adopted, but which is being debated in the National Assembly. In fact, the biggest chunk of the budget is precisely the focus on fintech, on AI, on blockchain, and that is the reason why, you know, we have tried to improve the system of what called incentives. And this is where we are talking about, for instance, you know, you have a professional coming to establish in Mauritius to provide these services. So we are facilitating their arrival and the establishment in Mauritius. And as I said, if it is something which is new, you know that EDB, they provide something which is called a sandbox license. So even if it is not regulated in Mauritius, still you can get a license to provide these services. And we can regulate that afterwards. So this is something which is novel, which is very new. And you know, there are a number of companies in the fintech especially, which have been allocated, which have got the sandbox license. So I think that everything that is being done, it rotates around, you know, these new concepts. And of course, I think IT is extremely important for Mauritius. And you know, if you look at, we have been doing very poorly because of COVID, but the one sector which has grown in Mauritius in last year is beside the IT sector. The growth rate has been 5.6%. Probably is the only sector which has you know registered a positive growth rate. So I think if you really we do have ideas like this one, and we very much welcome this. And since you are talking precisely about the maritime sector, you know, in Mauritius we have got a whole plan to develop Mauritius as a what do you call it? We have got the EEZ, and we would like to develop the ocean economy, and that's where, you know, everything that has to do with maritime services, it falls within the scope of the ocean economy. And you know, the government is putting in place, you know, a whole package of incentives, and we can also sit down and very specifically sort of discuss possible incentives that would be needed to have service providers in these new sectors in Mauritius. I mean, that this is what is being done.
I think, sir, the time we have already overshoot. It is almost 3 hours now we have been discussing, and I can understand Ambassador Madam has given so much of time. We really thank you, Madam, for this. So I think just to wind it up, we also have with us Dr. G.L. Agarwal, who is our co-chair for the International Affairs Committee for Africa. So briefly, sir, if you would like to comment, very brief, I request if you can speak. Mayank, kindly unmute him.
So you are unmuted, so you can speak now. So you can speak now, you are unmuted, sir.
Agarwal sir, बोलिए.
Minister, Ambassador, and all present. I have not possible to find some problems. So
Okay, sir. Thank you. So I think before, Madam, I invite you to give the concluding remarks. I just wanted to share from the PhD chamber point of view. In the last decades, what we have done, we have roughly around 150 global MOUs which we have signed with different countries and chambers. So I can see the smile on Madam Ruma's face. So the 151 would be with them now. So that is what we also feel. I'll request my colleague Mayank if you can just share that site so that Madam can have a glimpse of that, and this is how we want to take it further. Please, Mayank. This is the International Affairs Division. What we do, we have created a website separately for the activities, and this is the partners which we are showing.
That's
These
fantastic.
are region-wise. So that is how we want to take this further. So last month only with Mongolia India Business Council, it was the 150th which we have signed. So we would like to take this further on this. Thank you, Mayank.
We'll
So
be
now,
very happy to first you. Thank you. We'll be very happy to first
Naveen ji, I'll butt in here. If we sign a deal,
Yeah,
I can be the first member to be first company to become the member of the Chamber of Commerce after this webinar today.
So nice of you. So nice of you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Figure of
Now,
151, sir. Figure of 151 is also very lucky in Hindu math. 101. Hello, can you hear me? Sir, that 151 is a lucky figure. Yeah.
Good, sir. I think it's a very good sign. So, Excellency, I invite you now to give the concluding remarks. Madam, excuse me, I need to unmute, ma'am. You're on mute. Yeah.
It's okay. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We have come to the end of this session. And once again, I would like to thank the PhD Chamber for its collaboration with us. And I would like to thank also all the members of the panel for their presentations and pertinent contributions. I am sorry if there has been any some repetition and that we overshot on time. But I wish to thank everybody for this. We have had, I believe, open discussions on all aspects of trade and investment opportunities. Now it's up to us to translate those opportunities into concrete actions. I have no doubt that with the information which has been shared, there will definitely be a boost in trade between the two countries. And as I said earlier, besides the bilateral dimension, the regional dimension is equally important, if not more important. And all the members of the panel have laid emphasis on the role of Mauritius as a springboard for exports to African countries, as Mauritius has all the prerequisites in terms of preferential trade arrangements to position itself as a bridge between India and Africa. There's one point which I didn't mention and which I think is extremely important also, is that as a democratic country, Mauritius has political stability. And I think that political stability is something which is extremely important for any businessman who wants to come and invest money in any country. So Mauritius guarantees that political stability. Moreover, the incentives that we are going to give to investors, the work and residence permit facilities, the tax exemptions, so all these will facilitate investment. Now, to translate these opportunities into tangible results, as the representative of the MCCI Mauritius has just said, that the private sector and the public sector in Mauritius, they are collaborating on a platform, and we also in India, I will be there, and as has been suggested, we can create that platform to interact with you, to provide you with more information. And if anybody decides to invest, we would be there to facilitate this process. I have, an open door policy. So I will be there at any time at the level of the Mauritius High Commission. Myself and my staff, we would be there to ensure effective coordination between you and all the relevant institutions in Mauritius. I think Mr. Kalra had mentioned this. I can assure Mr. Kalra that we will be there to ensure any coordination between the businessmen and the High Commission. So what I wish now is that we can see already some results, and with this, I would look forward to hearing from you soon and very soon, as time is of the essence, both for Mauritius and for India, for the mutual benefit of the two countries. Thank you so much, and namaskar.
Thank you very much, Excellency. I think very rightly pointed out, the major essence. So definitely we will come back to you. What I feel from behalf of PhD Chamber, our action points is, first is I would request if we can get the copies of your presentations of all the speakers from Mauritius so that we can circulate to our interested members. Second, we will definitely get into a bilateral MOU with Ms. Ruma. And third one, as our chairman sir suggested, the task force at PhD on lines with the joint sector platform under your patronage, Ambassador ma'am. So we will immediately get into that. We will also suggest some sector-specific B2B, product-specific B2B meetings with your support, with support of Nandlal ji and Dr. Narendra ji, so that we can immediately start the virtual B2Bs as of now. And once things open up, for sure we would like to come over to Mauritius, not only for business but for leisure as well, because it's a place to be there. So definitely we look forward to. And we have been participating in international exhibitions as India Pavilion in Mauritius. We wish to participate again in October, November if things open up. We would love to participate in that. So we will get back to you on those things. So on behalf of our President, Shri Sanjay Agarwal ji, I thank you all for sparing your time and being with us. Special thanks to Honorable Minister, sir, Your Excellency, ma'am, Dr. Narendra ji, Mr. Nandlal and Ms. Ruma, thank you very much for your time. And we look forward to work very closely. Soon, ma'am, you will hear from us and we will be coming and meeting you on this. So thank you all the participants. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Let's applaud to the program today. Well done program.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.